From Champaign, Illinois, this is the Jumping the Rail podcast with your hosts Mark Redmond and Mike Nargelinas.
To episode number 7. All right, we got episode number 7 of the Jumping the Rail podcast. This is Mark Redmond. I'm joined by my tag team partner, the only man in the United States that can see John Cena, my buddy Mike Nargelinas. Narge, how's it going, buddy?
It's going pretty well, and I have actually seen John Cena.
I knew it.
I've seen it with my own 2 eyes.
And also on my right, we got my buddy Marco on the dials here. How's it going, buddy?
Howdy.
So, Narge, we got a big one today.
What do we have going on tonight?
Oh, we got somebody calling in.
Oh.
We've got our first interview ever in the history of this show, and it's a doozy. Because we have Mr. Bill Alfonso joining us in about a half an hour.
The manager of champions.
Yep, calls it right down the middle, Daddy. But, no, we're really looking forward to that. It's going to be awesome. And then also at the end of the show today, we will be announcing our guest for the next episode in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's going to be a fun one, too.
I think so, yeah. We've got a lot of good things lined up here. We've got a lot of things cooking. We're on the ground level. Jump on. Let's go.
Yeah.
Jump the rail with us.
Oh, yeah.
Cheap pop.
Cheap pop indeed. But I guess we'd be foolish not to get into a little bit of news to kick things off, Narge.
Yeah, there's been plenty as usual. So.
Yeah, I think the top story going around is Ring of Honor. They announced at the end of December after the final battle show they're going to shut their doors for about 4 months.
That's what I'm hearing, shutting the doors and then releasing every single wrestler on the roster from their contract.
From what I heard, everybody that's under contract through the end of this year is getting an outright release, and then I think there's some that are signed like for multiple years. I think they're either going to hang on to them or they're going to get released in around April or so. I'm not sure exactly what the details are on that.
All the fine print. Yeah, from what I read,
a lot of red tape, I'm sure.
When they come back, they want to focus on more of the unsigned independent talent, which there is plenty of. There's a robust.
That's kind of back to the spirit of what it was at its beginning in 2002, because it was very independent and a lot of unknown talent that got their start there.
Oh, yeah. And with COVID and everything last year, you knew that some of these companies were going to suffer. I do think a company like Ring of Honor's taken notice of some of these other independent companies. Again, one of our favorites, Game Changer Wrestling.
Yeah.
They're thriving off unsigned independent talent that kind of comes and goes. I mean, they have their homegrown roster, but maybe Ring of Honor wants to get back to that and prove that they, too, can run that big dog independent show again. Yeah,
I can see that happening. Excuse me. But speaking of Game Changer Wrestling, there's a couple of guys got the injury bug over the weekend. And it stings for everybody here because it's 2 of our favorite guys.
This couldn't have happened at a worse time.
No.
The broken ankle Halloween curse.
Yeah.
The very evil, very nice Danhausen.
He got Dackhausened.
Yeah, he unfortunately, from what I read on the internet, his opponent went to do a coast-to-coast, the old Rob Van Dam move.
Oh, yeah.
Landed right on his leg and broke his tibia and fibia.
Yeah, I saw a picture of the x-ray on Facebook, and it's not a severe break, but it's bad enough to really put him on the shelf for a while.
Yeah, one of the independent companies he's supposed to work for said they expect him to be available in February. If not, he'll still be there. So I think the timeline is, relatively quick.
As a guy that's had a broken leg before, that tracks. It's about how much time it takes for a bone to heal properly. Yeah. But to Danhausen, and he is one of the guys we've been wanting to get on this show. We'd love to have him on for a chat. But to Danhausen, I say get well soonhausen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then the other one, I think our top favorite independent wrestler right now. If we had to pick somebody we enjoy watching, old Mance Warner was doing a one-on-one with Dirty Dango, formerly Fandango of the WWE. Threw him over the top rope and then snapped his ankle as well. So
the old Sid Vicious.
Yeah, so these guys are on the shelf.
He got ankle and knee injured, right?
That I knew he broke his ankle. As far as the knee, that I don't know.
I thought I read something that he was holding his knee also, but I don't know that because we didn't see the actual match where it happened.
No, I haven't seen the video. I do know that.
Honestly, I don't know if I want to see the video.
Yeah, you got a squeamish stomach.
I can't do the leg breaks. I can't watch Sid. I can't watch Joe Theismann. You know, it goes. Robin Ventura back a few years ago had a nasty break in spring training.
Oh yeah, I think of some of the UFC stuff I've seen. Anderson
Silva is a big one. Yeah.
But my suggestion to anybody listening, get on Pro Wrestling Tees. Go out there, buy these guys merchandise. They're going to need the money the next couple of months. Danhausen, Mance, both have some exceptional merch. I own a couple of pieces from each of them. Definitely get on there, support those guys. It'll be awesome to see him back soon as Mance was just released from his MLW contract.
Right. And
with a handful of other guys.
Yeah, and then Danhausen, he's getting released from his Ring of Honor contract.
So talk about bad timing, but these are guys I expect to see mainstream by the end of next year once they're healed up.
So, definitely speedy recovery to Manser and Danhausen. And, it's a, no pun intended, it's a really bad break for both of them, but I expect them both to land on their feet. Shut up.
Just want to let you guys know we have several live listeners tonight.
Well, hello to our live audience out there. If this is your first time, welcome.
We've got Joe Hammerslow.
Hey, Hammer. How's it going, buddy?
Duane Carter.
I know that guy.
Stacy Redman. I think you've met her.
Hey, she's a fox, man.
Jonathan Mayer or Meyer?
Mayer, yeah.
Mayer
we
is
met
listening
him up in
Floyd Fisher.
Yeah,
hey,
Floyd was a longtime fan back when I used to do my independent wrestling. I'd met Floyd through the New Breed Wrestling Alliance. Floyd, great guy. Floyd, welcome. Appreciate you listening.
And last but not least, since he was the first one to try to join up, Kyle Reed.
Kyle, our
Kyle.
buddy.
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, before we get too far, I do want to point out today we feel like a big-time podcast because we actually have a sponsor today that's helping us out.
Without this sponsor, we would not be doing the interview, so everybody should definitely check out the sponsor.
Yes.
Mark, give it to him.
Sure. It's my buddy Dustin Danger from Oakwood, Illinois. He owns a business called the Rebels Fair Collective, LLC. It's based out of Oakwood. It's a music shop, recording studio. He sells vinyl. He sells cheap instruments. You can get anything you need to do lessons. And he also wanted me to plug on their Facebook page, facebook.com/rebelsfair. That's REBELSFARE. And you can also hear Dustin. He's a awesome musician. I know from experience. I played music with him for years. He has music on all your streaming sites under his name, Dustin Danger, and also with the group Danger and Germ. And I encourage everybody to check them out. But Dustin, thanks a lot for helping us out with this. And without Dustin, we would not have our interview today, and we are very appreciative. He will be getting a fruit basket, I think, from us at some point.
Absolutely. I'll drop that off to your doorstep, Dustin, anytime. Just shoot me your address. But, no, it goes without saying we appreciate the sponsorship. That's an opportunity for anybody out there that's listening to the show.
Definitely, yeah.
You'd like to sponsor? Shoot one of us a message. We'll figure it out. But because of Dustin, we're able to have this great guest. We'll be happy to shill anything you want. We'll probably even talk about Dustin again before the end of the show, I'm sure. So we'll mention it.
Dustin is a big wrestling fan. We grew up watching wrestling for years, and he did send me a question to ask Mr. Bill Alfonso, so I will be posing that to him later.
Fantastic.
So let's get back into it. The big news piece over the last couple of weeks was the situation with Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair on SmackDown a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, apparently Charlotte's got an attitude problem.
That's what I'm hearing.
She's a Flair. I mean, what is this a surprise?
It's not a big surprise.
She's living the gimmick.
She is living the gimmick.
I honestly think that she wants out of her contract. I really do. I think she's massively in love with Andrade. Her dad's not. I really think that's where she'd like to go. I really do.
I wouldn't be surprised by that. My concern with that is, and I know it's not much better in WWE, but will there be suitable competition for her elsewhere? Because to be honest with you, unless you're going to I mean, I'm not going to say AEW because I always thought they had kind of a thin ladies division once you get past your Britt Bakers and your Thunder Roses and Sheeta, you know.
True.
But outside of getting Tessa Blanchard, there's really not a lot of women on Charlotte's like her level in the ring.
No. Impact is not much better by any means either.
Impact has a surprisingly good women's division. They got Deonna Purrazzo, which was a dream match for Charlotte. And then they got Mickey coming. She's their ladies champion now.
Yeah, but WWE had Mickey and didn't do anything with her.
Well, whose fault is that?
Well, for me personally, the AEW thing makes the most sense.
It definitely does.
Her dad's coming at some point. Tessa's dad's there. It writes itself.
Yeah.
And I think, if you
Tony can pony up Shad's money to get her in.
Yeah, if you bring somebody over like Charlotte who's got this heat behind her, I really think he could kind of shoehorn Tessa in rather quickly and kind of maybe avoid some of the smoke she had as well.
I'm going to address the elephant in the room, though. Charlotte, there's been reports that...
I'm not an elephant.
No. You got a big trunk, though.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off your game.
Yeah, you kind of threw me off there. But no, the truth is, there's been reports that the girls in the locker room don't want to work with Charlotte, or at least that's what I've been reading. And Tess has gotten the same rep from Impact.
Yeah, so how do you book that match?
Yeah, well, but
how's that ego?
Yeah, plus also, do you bring both of those women in if pretty much the only people they would work with was each other if nobody else wants to work with them?
We get a female version of Brett and Sean.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd watch Tessa and Charlotte wrestle every day for a week if I could.
Absolutely. And I think Britt Baker's working her way there, too.
Oh, yeah.
That's somebody who...
Britt's got the whole package because she's... Not only is she damn good in the ring, easy, baby. Don't make me make a phone call.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to... Hey, call me Tony Schiavone. I don't know. For me, so what blows my mind about the whole situation is these two ladies came up through NXT. They're part of the Four Horsewomen, right? Like, this was...
Was Tessa part of the Four Horsewomen? I know by legacy she should be, being Tony's daughter.
So it was, that was Bayley, Sasha, Becky, and Charlotte.
Okay, we're back on Becky. I thought you were still on Tessa.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. So for the attitude problem and things like that, you'd think these ladies would stick together. So I don't necessarily know if Charlotte's issue is with Becky personally or if it's with the rest of the ladies.
I don't know. I mean, it could be she's got a big hit. I don't know. You got to talk to her to find out for sure. But
I know I had read an article over the
Does that mean you guys are going to try and arrange an interview?
WWE won't allow that based on the intel I have. So
do you have intel?
I have intel.
Wow.
I know people.
You're a mover and shaker, man.
I got people. But I did read an article over the weekend that Nia Jax, when she went into business for herself with Charlotte on Raw a few weeks back, the girls in the locker room actually supported Nia in that situation.
Yeah. Dwayne, did you hear that?
Yeah, Duane Carter, huge Nia Jax
That's
fan.
his person.
Yep. If he had a celebrity crush, it would be Nia Jax.
Absolutely. And Nia hasn't been on TV for a few weeks. I know she's out selling.
She's working the injury.
So give her a little time off.
And she'll come back, fresh coat of paint, maybe update her look a little bit.
I don't know the answer to this situation, but I personally believe that Charlotte wants out. Yep. I think that's,
Yeah, I do know that Charlotte was a little disgruntled with the way they handled the championship after the draft. She wanted to drop the title to Bianca on Raw, but the creative wanted to go another way and do the whole title swap on SmackDown.
Sounds very Bret Hart-like.
A little bit.
So we got the lady screw job. That sounds terrible.
That sounds awful.
Where are we going?
Shame on you.
The next?
Where's my Pornhub
We've
button?
added Phil and Andrea to our listeners.
Hello.
Yeah, Phil
like
Kuhn. Phil Kuhn.
Like the groundhog Phil?
Like Phil Brooks?
Yes. Like Philip Rivers without the lip.
So actually, out of everybody on that list, I have known Phil the longest. Phil is my very first wrestling friend in grade school. I've known Phil my entire life. We were kind of the first two to share with each other, hey, we're wrestling fans. So he was the Mark Redman to my Narge 20 years ago. So Phil, thank you for listening, sir.
Excellent.
He wishes he were me. I'm just kidding, Phil. I'm sure you're a great guy.
You guys both have the same hairstyle.
So he's a smart guy.
Yeah.
So the other bit of news item I got, Narge, the release of Greg Hamilton, the ring announcer for the WWE, came kind of out of the blue.
Yeah, for my money's worth, and I know a buddy of mine, Chris Hunter. Mark, what do we do? The producer's messing the whole show up. Greg Hamilton was, for my money's, the best announcer in WWE.
Oh, he's great, yeah.
So,
great pipes, good delivery. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the other, Mike Rohn, is that his name?
No, I don't care for him.
He's a little rough. I mean, Justin Roberts was the best one that they had after post-Finkel.
He is.
The Dapper Yapper, as JR calls him.
I'm going to get off a little. Roberts overdoes it for me,
a little bit. He's got kind of that buffer thing.
And what I really hate's the Kenny Omega thing. So, what are we showing here? Oh, wrap it up?
No, just keep going.
Oh, the producer's distracting tonight.
I am. I'm trying to show these guys what we're getting at the other end of this whole thing.
It looks good.
So, but Robert's a little long in the tooth these days. I think he's trying to be more Michael Buffer than...
Yeah. Happy birthday, Michael Buffer, by the way. 77 years old today.
Happy birthday. Oh, do we have that button?
I've got it somewhere.
It's on there, yes. Hang on a minute.
Oh, wait. I got Mark bouncing around, but yeah.
Soundboard bounce. Go!
Oh, it's not doing it. I can do it for us.
Your soundboard broke.
Oh, let's get ready to rumble.
I got a dud, so yeah, thank you, Narge.
But happy birthday to Michael Buffer, brother of UFC announcer Bruce Buffer.
That's right. Who, for my money, and no disrespect to Michael, I thought Bruce was a better announcer.
Oh, Bruce, talk about getting somebody hyped for a big fight.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Bruce Buffer do his 360 in the ring?
Yes.
He will, the big jumps and spins.
A lot of panache.
He's awesome.
We've got a couple questions coming in. Well, at least one definitely for Fonzie. And then, Duane, is your question also for Fonzie?
Oh, I can see the question. That is about the ring announcing. What about Lillian Garcia? Okay. I like Lillian.
Lillian
great singer too, by the way.
Fantastic. I remember back in the day, and I'll be honest, not sexist or anything like that.
No.
I just, when she came across, I was like, female ring announcer. It was weird to go from Howard Finkel to over time she grew on me, and I like when they bring her back.
Lillian brought so much to the show. She did the national anthem before every show. She was a great ring announcer. I imagine, I didn't go to many of the Raws that she worked, but I imagine she was good at keeping the crowd hyped.
Yeah, great ambassador.
Oh yeah,
brand,
definitely.
So.
Army brat, she's from a military family.
I'm a Dave Penzer guy, but
also you ought to check out Lillian's podcast, Chasing Glory. It's really good. It's an interview show that she does with various people.
Yeah,
yeah.
Mark is the podcast professional. I listen to about 2.
Got to know your enemy.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get into. Like I said, we got about 15 minutes so before we bring Fonzie in. But I want to get into a little JTR history. We're going to do a little bit different today. We're not doing the usual format, so a couple of things are getting omitted from the show this week. But as far as history goes, on Halloween night, 1979, Giant Baba defeated Harley Race to win the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, which was pretty common in All Japan. Baba would win the belt for a few days during a tour and then drop it back to the champ before he went back home. I think he did with Harley. I think he did with Flair a few times. But, that's one of the... I don't know if that's... I think that's one of the first times he actually won the title from Harley. One of my favorite things, also on Halloween 1989, the Genius defeated Hulk Hogan by countout on Saturday Night's Main Event. You remember that, Narge?
I do. That was a big deal.
Yeah, remember the aftermath?
No.
Mr. Perfect stole the belt from Hogan and then went backstage and destroyed it on camera, like with a hammer. Like, completely trashed the belt in front of Mean Gene.
I am not sure why I don't recall this. I recall the Genius, Lanny Poffo, winning, but I don't remember the belt destruction.
Yeah, and there was always a theory that was the belt they used to make the hardcore title, but that actually wound up being a myth. That's not true.
Yeah.
But I honestly thought that the first time I saw the hardcore title.
Well, the fact you mentioned that, I'm almost positive I read today that the hardcore title debuted. Was it this week?
Yeah, that's actually in my list. And
Foley... Yeah, okay, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. We got a couple days to get through there. Let's see. On November 1st, 97, Bret Hart signed his contract with WCW while still technically working for the WWF. He hadn't left yet. He'd signed his contract and was finishing up. But he would fulfill his final commitment for the WWF at Survivor Series 8 days later. And boy, did he.
Yeah, no big news there, right?
No.
That was just another old run-of-the-mill match.
Right, right. Also, November 1st, 2007, WWE announced that effective immediately, all violations of the company's wellness policy will be made public. It doesn't take long for the addendum to be used. Chris Masters is the first man publicly outed under the new rules. He was suspended for 2 months the day after.
And what was the wellness policy?
Basically, steroids, no drug use.
And if you saw Chris Masters,
The
you'd
masterpiece.
understand why he was one of the first to get busted.
Jacked to the gills.
Yep.
So they didn't mess with him over marijuana like every other sport
I think that
does?
got in there too. Like it was drugs in
a shame.
general. I think drugs in general was the.
I think
Got
they've
it.
kind of loosened up on. I mean, a lot these days you
Yeah.
never hear anything about the
Right.
wellness policy. So
Okay, here you go, Nards. November 2nd, 1998. 23 years ago today, the WWF introduced the Hardcore Championship with Vince McMahon awarding the title to Mankind on Monday Night Raw.
and I read today he held it for I believe a total of 23, 24 days, losing it to the Big Boss Man, and it's the only time he ever held the title.
That's right.
One time.
He was the first and last.
Yep.
Hardcore Championship for the Mixer. Let's see. On this day in 2000, the WWF announced they had settled the wrongful death lawsuit filed by Dr. Martha Hart in regards to Owen Hart's passing in May. The Hart family is awarded $18 million, of which a portion is used to establish the Owen Hart Foundation, which has gotten a lot of talk the last month or so, with the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament coming to AEW, and the proceeds going to the Owen Hart Foundation.
Yeah, I think 2022 is going to be a big year for Owen Hart. I really do.
I hope so. I mean, it's like I said a few weeks ago, anything that brings light to Owen and pays tribute to him, I'm all for, because I love watching Owen wrestle.
There's a generation of fans that don't have any clue.
And from everything you always read, I've never heard anybody have a bad word to say about him.
No, he was a practical joker. They said.
Oh
but
yeah,
it was always
Big Ribber.
It was harmless. It was fun. So
one time he almost got Stu to kill Bruce Pritchard. That's a story you need to hear on Bruce's podcast. Let's see. On this day in 2007, Lillian Ellison, the fabulous Moolah, passed away in her hometown of Columbia, South Carolina.
Yeah, and the Moolah looked revered for many years, and here recently, though, a lot of negativity around the fabulous Moolah. You don't hear a lot of good things.
It's dark side of the ring again. There's a lot of bad press.
And I watched the Luna Vachon episode a couple weeks back.
I have not seen that yet.
And same thing, more just Moolah being controlling, Moolah kind of forcing herself relationships with some of the ladies. So
Very agenda-driven.
Very business.
Personal.
Was there also a Me Too factor to this, you're saying?
That's been
or whatever you'd call
that's
it?
been accused of Moolah.
Wow.
Yeah, Moolah wanted to keep her spot, but used some of that influence to kind of take advantage of some of the younger
young
ladies
girls, yeah.
in wrestling for
They would
sexual
live
reasons.
in her house, and people have said that the conditions weren't great there. But
Yeah.
that's a story for another time. We
Yep.
don't want to get into that. On November 3rd, 1998, Jesse the Body Ventura got elected governor of Minnesota. And I had no idea that he was running for governor at the time. You know, we were in Illinois. But I watched the Today Show, and they said, Jesse Ventura is the governor. And I had to stop and look back at the TV. Like, what?
I remember the same reaction. I was watching the election coverage and I think my parents were watching.
Right.
And I heard the name, and I was like, oh, I know that guy, the Body?
The Body. Jesse the Mind, as he would be
The
called
Mind,
for a
yeah.
while.
And now I think he's lost his mind. If anybody's heard
He's
him,
he's big on the conspiracies.
the aliens and all sorts of weird
The
stuff.
one that-
So.
Actually, a lot of his stuff, it sounds like he knows what he's talking about if you like to the untrained ear. But I do like listening to him talk about his theories on the JFK assassination. It's just that subject always fascinated me.
What you mentioned earlier that JFK's alive, right?
That's
Are we
what
getting
No,
into
that
that?
was no. Today it was JFK Jr. was going to be down at Daley Plaza in Dallas.
with JFK.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
No,
part.
both of them. JFK and
I heard-
JFK
I heard the
Jr.
Q
are
folks were
going
there, but that was
to
it.
Daley Plaza to help Donald Trump get the presidency.
Well,
again.
apparently they didn't show up. I personally hope they didn't give him an
Well, I
entire
heard-
appearance fee for it.
Well, the story I heard, Jack Jr. is at the Rolling Stones concert. From what
Oh.
my better half told
He's
me.
going to enter now. Like I said earlier, he's going to introduce Tupac.
That's
He's
right.
going to come
That's right.
out too. So
Wait a minute. Charlie Watts is still playing, isn't he?
I think he is.
That's it. Anyways, off of the
mothership has
Quidiots.
landed.
So here's a fun one, Narch. On November 4th, 96, I was going to say one word and one number, Pillman 911. The most notorious I think, segment ever on Monday Night Raw during the Attitude Era.
What year was that?
96.
I was 12, and it was maybe the craziest thing I've ever seen in professional wrestling.
So Marco doesn't know what we're talking about. Pillman had gotten his ankle broken by Steve Austin on TV, and the story is he actually had to have his ankle fixed from his car accident. They had to go back and re-break his ankle.
Hang on a minute. Last minute announcement. Kyle Reed just told us Elvis was also there today.
Elvis Costello?
Elvis Presley.
I told you, the mothership landed.
I thought maybe Elvis Stoico, the Canadian figure skater.
But, it could have been that one, too. Anyways,
so Pillman had to go off to get his ankle fixed.
Hey, Dustin Danger joined us.
Hey, Dustin. How's it going, buddy? But basically, Steve Austin tried to break into Pillman's house on camera during an interview, and Pillman pulled out the old Arn Anderson special. Had the Glock 9mm out, and was.
I remember that discussion.
Yes, but then
Pillman threatened to shoot his ass.
Long story short, Austin broke the door down. Pillman stood up, pointed the gun, and then the screen went black. Nobody knew what happened.
And Jim Ross lost
Kevin
his
Kelly.
mind. Oh, that's right. It was Kevin Kelly. Well, Kevin was there, but
he was there
in the arena.
The Lawler was losing his mind on commentary. He was telling him to call the cops. And it was a fiasco. Oh, we'll try to find a clip of it and put it up on our
good TV.
Page. It made for some shocking TV. Let's see. November 5th, 94, when Worlds Collide pay-per-view from WCW and AAA. This was the match that saw Eddie Guerrero and the Love Machine lose a hair versus mask match to Octagon and Elio Del Santo. So we saw Eddie get his head shaved. And this was cool because this was the first time I'd ever seen Art Barr wrestle. This was Eddie's old tag team partner. And he's the guy that invented the frog splash, for those that don't know.
Beetlejuice, the juicer. Yep. His brother was Jesse Barr, Jimmy Jack Funk, I believe. Yeah, I believe that's right. Yep.
All right, so moving on. November 605, Shimmer puts on their first show at the Eagles Club in Berwyn, Illinois. Dave Prazak, the great wrestling mind from the Midwest, just had promoted an all-women's show on the Independents. And it's still going strong today, from what I understand.
Yeah, I don't know much about Shimmer. I've heard of it, but that's more you think.
It's a lot of girls you've heard of have come through Shimmer.
Are they based out of the Chicago area?
Yes.
Sounds like some people we should get to know about.
Yes. Excuse me.
No, Mark does not have COVID or any of those
I do not.
Things.
I'm recovering from my frog voice from 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, we could barely understand him, and now...
Progress. Let's see. On November 7th, 85, the Wrestling Classic from Chicago, the first official pay-per-view only show from the WWF, because Wrestlemania was pay-per-view in some markets, but not everywhere.
Was the Classic Hogan and Orndorff?
Hogan and Piper.
Okay, I'm thinking big event.
Yeah, you're thinking big event. The Wrestling Classic was the tournament, and then Hogan and Piper.
That's right.
JYD won the tournament, beating Savage in the finals, and then Piper got DQ'd because he would never take a pin.
Kyle Reed wants to let us know that Awesome Kong came from Shimmer.
She sure did.
Oh.
Amazing Kong
Thank
at the time.
Kyle.
Yeah. Shout out to Kong, recent TNA Hall of Famer, Impact Hall of Famer. And then I got one more thing I'm going to add here because we do have to get to our guest here in a couple minutes. November 8th, 2005, Eddie Guerrero wrestled his last match. On SmackDown, he beat King Kennedy by disqualification.
We talked about this before. Eddie wrestled here in Champaign a couple days before that. I remember seeing it and then wrestled there. So,
yeah. So that's our history. We got a couple birthdays I'll bring up. Bobby Heenan had a birthday on November 1st. So happy birthday in the great beyond the brain.
For my money's worth, one of the greatest managers of all time, and I think that's something we can ask Bill later. I'm curious, where Bill drew some inspiration from. Is Bobby one of those guys?
Yeah. Let's see. LA Knight has a birthday on yesterday. Was his birthday. Andrade El Idolo has a birthday tomorrow on the 3rd. So happy birthday to Andrade. The National Treasure Nick Aldis has a birthday on the 6th this year. He'll be 35. And hopefully he'll be back in the NWA World Title picture soon enough. And King Kong Bundy, his birthday would fall on the 7th this year.
The late great.
Late and great. The Bearcat Keith Lee has a birthday on the 8th. And then the last one I got, Kazuchika Okada, the winner of the G1 this year, has a birthday on the 8th. He will be 34.
The Rainmaker, yeah, he won the G1. Did we ever find out was Ibushi's that a legitimate?
That is
injury?
A legit injury. He hurt. I think he dislocated his shoulder.
That match
did
not.
Didn't
who
go
knows
long.
how that was supposed to go?
Yeah,
so
you'll never know. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to take a short break. Marco, is that the plan?
You might want to make sure Bill's not calling you because he hasn't called into this yet. But yeah, we can do that, or we can move on.
How
to
about
our
we
top
talk
10.
about our sponsor real quick again one more time?
Dustin Danger.
Dustin's listening in. Mark, you got all the details.
Actually, I need to actually take a break because I do need to make a phone call real
Okay,
quick.
great. All right, so I'll go over the top 10 hardcore matches, and I'll read them off, and Narge will tell you guys why they're so awesome.
That's right.
All right, now this list was put together by the guys. So here we go. The number 10 one was Sabu versus Sandman, the tables and ladders match from ECW 1997.
Fantastic match. Two great hardcore wrestlers. Bill Alfonso, who we will be talking to here momentarily, the manager of Sabu at one time. So the Sandman's one of my favorite. Steve Austin drew a lot of inspiration from the Sandman. Mark, Sandman, maybe the best entrance in all of professional wrestling, would come out to Metallica's Enter Sandman.
Boy, that makes sense, doesn't it, guys?
Smoking a cigarette and would drink about 6 beers before he'd pour beers on himself, but would attempt to drink them. So,
well, that's too bad. He couldn't keep up with Stone Cold, huh? Then number 9, we got John Moxley versus Nick Gage. It's the GCW Fight Club 2021.
That's our most recent. That was a couple weeks back. Big Nick Gage fan right here. If anybody had checked our page out, that's who I went for as Halloween. So it was Nick Gage.
But he was bested by an infant on Nick Gage's page,
yeah,
just
Nick
so you all know.
decided to share a 6-month-old's picture instead of mine. I thought, the baby was cute, but my costume was better. That was a very hardcore, bloody match. I recommend checking it out. John Moxley retained his title in that match.
Right on. Number 8, Ted DiBiase. That's the $1 Million Man, right?
Correct.
Ted DiBiase versus Hacksaw Jim Duggan, the everything match, Mid-South.
Mid-South. So that was before he was the $1 Million Man. Mark would know a little bit more about that. It's a little before my time. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, though, shout out to him. He is recovering from pancreatic cancer surgery that he had this past weekend. So thoughts and prayers out to Hacksaw.
All right. Roddy Piper versus Greg Valentine. This was the dog collar match in the Starrcade of 1983.
Very historic match. I know, from what I understand, I've read in books that both of those gentlemen actually had neck issues later on in life because of this particular match.
That must have been pretty violent.
Yeah.
Must have been pretty violent. Number 6, B.J. Whitmer versus Jimmy Jacobs, the NRBW IWA Mid-South 2008.
And that is a Mark Rebman match right there. Jimmy
Circle
Jacobs
back.
was the zombie princess. I know a little bit about him, but those are... Mark would be the wrestling nerd
expert
to give you that. Yeah.
Number 5, we got two legends, two people I've heard of, Mick Foley and Edge from Wrestlemania 22 of 2006.
I was there live. That was in Chicago, Illinois. I was there for that. Fantastic match. They lit the table on fire. Edge speared Foley through it. One of my favorite matches I've ever saw live. Yeah, it was fantastic.
That is awesome. Number 4, Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa, AEW Dynamite. This year.
Yeah. Live match between two women that saw blood, tables, thumbtacks. It really built both women, and I think it really, this is the match that set Britt Baker as a favorite for the fans. The fans just really enjoy. I mean, she gave everything in that match. So,
all right. Number 3, Ian Rotten versus Axel Rotten. Are they brothers?
They, storyline wise, we're brothers. That's going to be the Taipei Death Match.
That is correct. ECW 1995.
I will run that down for you. A Taipei Death Match. They both double-sided taped their fist and put it into buckets of glass, and then proceeded to beat the shit out of each other with them. Ian actually runs IWA Mid-South. He's a gentleman that I've talked about getting on this show. So if anybody'd like to hear from Ian in the future, let us know. He's got a lot of great stories.
All right. Number 2, Terry Funk versus Jerry Lawler, 1981, and it's Empty Arena.
Yeah, empty arena match. They beat the living hell out of each other through an arena that had no fans, just a bunch of empty chairs. And
this was the whole, hey, we're going to practice for COVID just 40 years
40
early?
years ago.
Wow. And the number one greatest hardcore match, according to
this is actually
Mark
my favorite
and Mike, is
pro wrestling match of all time.
Cactus Jack versus Triple H, the Street Fight, Royal Rumble 2000.
Awesome match. Saw barbed wire bat, thumbtacks. I mean, that match, Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, gave it his all. Shout out again to Halloween this past weekend. Mark went as Cactus Jack. What's funny enough story, I told my wife, I said, I think I'm going to dress as Cactus Jack for Halloween. We went to the bar the other night to have our pre-production meeting, and Mark shows up in his flannel, and I said, I hope you don't plan on wearing that Saturday. He said, why? And we realized we were both going to dress as the same character, so I ended up going as Nick Gage. Mark ended up going as Cactus Jack, but
it worked out very well.
Fantastic list. Mark does pick these top 10. He asked for my input, but that's why some of these matches I don't have a whole lot of background on, because Mark takes some creative liberty with it, but I do agree with the majority of these. So,
all right,
Mark, where do we stand with our special guest? We are
going to take a little break. You guys are going to listen to some music for a minute while I go find out from Mark. Oh, wait, he's back. Hang on. We shall return in a moment.
Huh?
All right, so we are back. Narge, what did I miss?
You missed the top 10 list that you provided for your top 10 Tuesday Hardcore. I was able to give some background on a majority of that, Mark.
Oh, yeah?
BJ Whitmer and Zombie Princess.
Oh, Jimmy Jacobs, yeah.
Jimmy Jacobs. I don't have a whole lot of details on that match, if you care to share some.
I was actually at that match.
Well, and see, I was at Edge and Foley at Wrestlemania, so I was able to talk about that.
BJ and Jimmy are a great feud from Ring of Honor, IWA, just across the Indies in the Midwest. And this was like their big blow-off in 2008. So they had an I Quit match building up to this. They had cage matches, street fights in Ring of Honor. This was a no-rope barbed wire match, which is kind of almost a specialty in IWA Mid-South. You know, they're known for their death matches. And this is one of the most well-done barbed wire matches I've seen because they had psychology to it. They like Jimmy. There's not a lot of guys that sell better than Jimmy Jacobs. I don't know how much you've seen of Jimmy in the ring.
Oh, yeah. He's a very underrated performer, and
Absolutely.
I know a lot of guys respect him that are in the business today. So.
Yeah, and great creative mind. He worked creative for WWE for a while. He worked creative for Impact. Still doing his thing on the indies. And, and he actually got the win on Whitmer, and Whitmer is another guy I really enjoy, a big, powerful guy from Ohio. He's a producer and agent in AEW now. But,
and I told the folks listening you'd have a little more background on that. Just an update. I know everybody's waiting to hear from Bill Alfonso. We're having some technical difficulties. We are working through those, so I promise you he's coming.
He is coming.
We will we'll have him, and we'll get him for at least an hour. So.
Marco was with him at the moment getting technology squared away because I am no help. But it shouldn't take us hopefully too long to get him on the horn. But he is ready to go.
Hey, I've got the live feed here. I mean, we can try to fill time. Does anybody have any other questions they want to ask me and Mark? Maybe not Fonzie related. We'll take some questions. I've got it pulled up here.
I hope you're all entertained by my wife talking about JFK and JFK Jr. in the news feed or in the thread here.
We'll take some questions while we're waiting for that. How about Monday Night Raw last night? We didn't touch on that, but any takeaways from Monday Night Raw?
Not a bad episode, not a great episode per se. Just kind of par for the course, you know?
Yeah, the one thing I took away on Twitter was that they appreciated more wrestling action throughout the show.
Definitely a little more killer, less filler.
And what I'm wondering is, was it Daniel Bryan who said maybe a week or two ago that in 2 hours of Dynamite you would get more professional wrestling than you would 5 hours of WWE? Is that WWE answering to him, or do you think they don't really care?
I don't think they really pay attention. I know Vince doesn't pay attention to that stuff.
I already knew your answer.
Creative mind. And I'm not saying that as defending the WWE or anything, but I mean, seriously, if you ever listen to Vince McMahon, he does not pay attention to the competition.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know, but there's a join Zoom.
As you can hear, we are working on getting Fonzie on. Mark's out in the hallway here, and we're going to get it coming soon.
Yeah.
But
so to keep talking about Raw,
when was so I got a question from Floyd Fisher. When was Mike Nargelinas' final match, and who was it against?
Oh, that I don't know.
Floyd, I give you that answer. It was actually in Indianola, Illinois. New Breed Wrestling show against Cecil Cerveza.
Wow, that's a name.
That was a name. The Pain Train came out of retirement for one night. Indianola, Illinois had a fall festival or a fun days or something, and I said, hey, I'll dust the boots off and get out there. I had my old manager with me, a man by the name of Titty Nashville.
That was not his name.
That was his name. Dead ringer for Johnny Knoxville. So he did the jackass Johnny Knoxville gimmick. He was Titty Nashville. I was the Pain Train.
What was your music when you were wrestling?
I came out to Story of the Year, pop punk band, and it was called We Don't Care Anymore. I had a little train gimmick at the beginning, and then it went into that. I was kind of a mix between the Sandman meets Tommy Dreamer meets backyard wrestling bum, essentially. So,
see, if it was me and I was using the name Pain Train, I'd go with Train by Blackfoot.
Train, not a
might
fan.
be an obvious choice.
There was Crazy Train and all
that.
Yeah. I had all sorts of
rolling or whatever.
I had moves named after trains. End of the Rails was my finisher, so
yeah,
it was a Death Valley driver.
Oh, I think we got another question here.
Time filler question from Jonathan Mayer.
Hey,
what is your favorite live event moment? His was seeing WWF Taz beat WCW Mike Awesome and ECW.
Oh, you were there? Dude, that was awesome. I remember that on TV.
That was kind of groundbreaking.
Indianapolis.
Yeah.
But that was a big deal because Awesome had gone to WCW with the championship. And then Vince loaned Taz to Paulie to get the belt off of him.
Yep.
And then Taz, I think, defended it a couple times on WWF television.
At Triple H, right?
Yeah.
Triple H smoked him.
It was a fairly even match. It wasn't a squash.
I don't remember that.
I remember the match. Tommy screwed Taz over.
Yeah, that's right.
But then Taz dropped it to Tommy.
Yeah, he did. What was what was your favorite live?
Mine. Honestly, there have been so many. Most of them are on the indies, to be honest with you. I think it would probably be the 2007 Ted Petty Invitational Tournament for IW Mid-South Unlimited, Lothian, Illinois. And non-tournament, there was a match on the second night between Chris Hero and Eddie Kingston in a last man standing match.
Oh, wow.
And those two had a feud. Just, it was incredible over a couple of years across multiple promotions between Chikara, CZW, IWA. Eventually they got to Ring of Honor with it. I think they might have even done PWG. But they threw everything but the kitchen sink. They took the old backdrop suplex on the guardrail, went through tables, trash cans. It was insane, just the stuff they would go through. And this is Hero. He's not a deathmatch guy. He's not really a street fighter. He's a technical wizard. And then you got Kingston, who's,
kind of a brawler.
Yeah. But, Hero helped train Kingston in the Chikara Wrestle Factory.
Okay.
So that's where their backstory goes back, because Hero and Quackenbush would run the school. And it was like Kingston, Larry Sweeney, Grant Akuma, Jigsaw, guys like that all came through there. I think Orange Cassidy might have come through there, to be honest with you.
Back when he was what?
Fire Ant.
The Fire Ant, yeah.
In the Colony, yeah.
I've got two moments. One that emotionally was awesome.
Recording in progress.
Oh. Well, I'm being recorded.
Oh.
So, John, my favorite...
Recording stopped.
My favorite live moment, I was in Indianapolis the night Seth Rollins turned on the Shield.
Oh, nice.
Kyler and I were in the front row, and that was... I think we've got it. I remember being mind-blowing. So, not to cut anybody short, appreciate the questions. We're filling time, but I think we're going to throw it over to the manager of champions here. I think Bill Alfonso is going to join us.
So, you called it. So, if we are ready to go... And we will go in and... No,
there you are. Okay. All right. Can you hear us?
Okay.
Hey,
I
there
got
we
you.
are.
All right. So let's go ahead and get this started if everybody's ready. And I will take this opportunity to introduce our guest. He is a legend in the field of professional wrestling referees from the NWA, WWF, anywhere you can imagine. And then he transitioned that into being one of the best managers in wrestling in the 1990s in ECW. He is the manager of champions. The man who calls it down the middle, and is Mr. Bill Alfonso. Fonzie, you there?
Hey, Daddy. Finally, you guys got me?
Yeah, sorry about that, man. We're pretty new at this.
Don't worry, brother. There's problems if I come on your podcast, Jumping the Rails, or if I'm walking through Madison Square Garden through the curtains. There's always problems, brother. So we worked with them, we got them, and so let's go, Daddy.
That's
I'm ready.
right. It's jumping the rails, but it might go off the rails. So.
Beautiful.
So we're talking to you in Florida. Whereabouts in Florida are we hearing from you?
I'm right in Tampa Bay, Daddy, the home of Tom Brady.
Nice. My wife likes Tom Brady. She's a Boston girl, so he's got a special place in her heart.
Loves him too.
It's not fair how good he is.
Oh, he's fantastic. He's really a legend. And well, what a face for football. You know what I mean? He's not a problem child.
He's ageless.
Like Fonzie.
That's right. Yeah, I could see him playing into his 50s.
Yeah, I hope so. He's doing well.
Yeah.
He might not make it to 50, but he's doing well.
Yeah. So, Fonzie, there's probably a lot of our listeners that know you from ECW. Some might know you from your days as a ref, but I'd like to kind of give everybody a little bit of insight into you. So, I guess my first question is, were you a fan when you were growing up of pro wrestling?
I certainly wasn't until my father came home. He had lunch with a sports writer. He used to write for the Tampa paper, and he used to write in Florida Championship Wrestling with Eddie Graham. He used to put an ad in the Tampa Times in the sports section for the matches every Tuesday night. And then the reporter, his name was Frank Klein, would put the results of the matches. So he had lunch with my dad, and he gave my dad 2 comp tickets. I was about 12 or 13 years old. He came home with 2 tickets. He said, "Hey, Billy, I got tickets to wrestling." I said, "Wrestling? What's that?" I don't want to go to wrestling. So they set up this was like Friday. They set up all weekend on the fireplace mantle, and curiosity got me. I said, "Well, let me go see what this is all about." And the main event was Ray Malenko and Eddie Ram. And I walked in, seen the blonde hair and the atmosphere, and fell in love with the business that night. So I became a big fan. Florida was a huge wrestling capital of the United States, and there were territories. So I got lucky. I used to ask my dad, please see Frank Klein, please give me those comp tickets. And so I used to go watch his matches, fell in love with it. And then somehow some fever got into me, and I wanted to do that. I said, that's what I want to do for a living. And I was always real small. I was like 155 pounds. I'm like 165 now. So I could never wrestle. But the closest thing to being in the ring was a referee.
Right.
So that's what I had my mindset on. And after years of being a big fan and being in the right place at the right time, and I got an opportunity for a tryout, and they liked me, and I was a natural, and been in the business ever since. And to this day, I'm still relevant in the business because I'm doing shows all over the country and enjoying it. And that's my story. And I've been around so many different territories and companies. I've been so fortunate. Wrestling's been really good to Fonzie. Ted Turner, WCW, and of course Vince McMahon and Paul Heyman and Todd Gordon with ECW, and all the promoters and promotions I work for now.
Yeah. So I talked to you about almost a week ago on the phone, just kind of doing the pre-interview kind of thing, just having a chat. And you were telling me about when, after you'd started in Florida, moving and going to Texas for a while to referee. And you mentioned I think your first big match was a chain match with Terry Funk and the original Sheik.
Yes. Yeah, that was in 1978. You want me to tell you how I got there?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right. So I was trying to get into business, like I'd been going to wrestling since I was 13 years old for the tickets for my dad and stuff. That story I just told it. And so after a while, after 6 or 7 years of going, I started meeting the guys and met Rocky Johnson, King Curtis, several different wrestlers, and they kind of liked me. So I was kind of a runner for them and pick them up at the airport and go get sandwiches or whatever, just being around. And my best friend at the time, David Canal, it's David Sierra, the Cuban assassin.
Right.
He was a big kid, and he started wrestling. And he was going out to Texas. And he asked me if I wanted to go. And Rocky Johnson encouraged me. Rocky Johnson, the Rock's dad, said, Fonzie, you ought to go and tell Fritz Von Erich, tell Paul Bosch, tell Joe Blanchard, tell the Funks, you're his little brother and you're a referee, that you're going to be with him for the 6 months he's booked out there in Texas, and you'll be available if there's any chance of you need a referee. And so I did. I went out there with hardly any money and living off of Dave, and was working every night for all the 4 territories. And I got to work 4 or 5 times in the 6 months I was there. There wasn't a referee, or the referee got hurt or whatever. So anyway, I got my first match I refereed and got paid for was in Lubbock, Texas. It was Terry Funk and the Sheik in a chain match. And I had to watch these guys. I've been around the business now for years. I've been in the dressing room with all these people, but it was pretty exciting. So that was my first match in Lubbock, Texas. And they liked me. I did an outstanding job. Got stabbed by the Sheik with a pencil. I still got the lead mark in my arm. He didn't mean it hurt me, but it was a great night for me. And I've been working ever since.
I couldn't imagine being new to refereeing and your first time in a big match would be the Sheik of all people, because he's one of the scariest men I've ever seen even on TV.
Yeah, even though I had been in business for a little while and I knew it up and down, kind of, it was green. I knew it was a work, but man, he was the Sheik who scared me to death. He did. I was scared of him. And I was leery, but I knew it was a work, but it worked out okay.
How cool is it for your first match to be with the Sheik and then to come full circle and work with his nephew years later? I mean, that's
one of the reasons why him and I got along. I told him the story I just told you for 10 minutes. And he fell in love with me. Me and Sept hit it off that night and been friends ever since. In fact, I tried to call him today. He didn't pick up, but I'll call him later. And we're doing a little tour November 21st. I've got some info I'll give you later.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to it.
And we were just a natural. It was perfect for him. And he liked me because of the Sheik story and already had admiration for me. So it was worked well together.
Yeah, the thing you'll know about me and Narj is we're both big ECW fans from way back. So
so am I. That's my relevant today, guys, because of ECW. Now, if Paul Heyman, that's another story. I'll tell you that story later. If Paul Heyman didn't call me to come in and be anti-ECW, just fresh out of WWF referee, because Vince wants the doctor's wife, and the 2 kids at ringside. ECW wants 89% male, 19 to 32 years old. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Tough, hardcore. So it was a perfect match for me to come in there and be anti-violent as a conservative referee from WWF, and the people hated it. And it turned out to be, they put me with Taz and Van Dam and Sabu, and the rest is history. But if it wasn't for ECW, which I adore, the fans and the guys I work with, I wouldn't be talking to you guys now, because even though I was in the business as a referee and refereed for all the major companies and famous matches in different places and was well respected by my peers, I was just a referee. I wasn't a name. So the managing thing in ECW gave me airtime and a character and developed into something good. That's why I'm so relevant today, because of ECW, not because I was a great referee and love. Don't get me wrong, referees are very important, but they don't have the fame. I didn't have a name. Oh, Bill Alfonso, it calls it right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the ECW sure was, man. I'm glad you guys are fans. Thank you so much, man.
Oh, absolutely, man. So we do a thing on the show called Top 10 Tuesday every episode, where we run down a specific list of things. And today we had done top 10 like hardcore style matches, kind of in honor of your ECW run. One of them that we talked about was the Taipei Death Match, the Ian and Axel, which was, I think you said, was your first appearance in ECW.
Well, Paul Heyman called me in for 4 weeks. He said, Fonzie, I got a 4-week program. We only work 2 times a week anyway, Friday and Saturday. You come in, and at the end of the 4 weeks, you're going to get choke slammed by 911, and then you're finished.
I remember that.
I'll pay you good, pay your time, put you in a hotel. God bless you. Thanks, Fonzie. But the gimmick got over. I got heat. And Paul was such a brilliant mind. He noticed it right away and said, hey, let me take advantage of it. So one of the matches that I refereed 4 or 5 different matches. It was always controversy. I wanted them to be natural, no hardcore, no chairs, no blood, no nothing. Family entertainment. The people wanted tables and chairs and bears and sex and violence. I was against that. Not really, but right. You know what I mean? So one of the matches was they've been building up for months. It was against the 2 brothers, Io and Axel, in the Taipei Death Match, where they dip their hands in glue. They tape them up, dip them in glue, dip them in glass, have a match. So the first punch, Ian got a little bit of juice over his eye, like a little boxer's cut. I mean, like 2 drops. It was ridiculous. I stopped the match due to lack of vision in his eye. I stopped the match. People wanted to fucking hang me, because I killed their joy. But you know what I mean? So the Taipei Death Match was pretty cool. Once they got going, those guys are freaking nuts, man.
Oh, yeah. I mean, watching Ian after he started IWA, and he would still do all the death matches, obviously. And he would do some of the crazy shit you can imagine just on the independents, doing, like, I remember a flaming barbed wire match he had with a guy named Freak Show back in like 2007. And
yeah, they do a lot of stuff like that. There's this company in Orlando. There's different companies all over that's really doing crazy stuff now. I mean, ECW was controlled violence, controlled, you know what I mean? It was the tables and flames and barbed wire, but they made it special, you know. But I do these independent shows, and every one of them got hardcore guys where they want to do tables and chairs. It doesn't make no sense sometimes, but people enjoy it. They get the little pop, but it was different. I guess ECW was the beginning of the hardcore. You know who liked this was Vince McMahon's son, Shane.
Yeah.
That's why we did some stuff with WWF back in the day. You know, we were a small company. We had no corporate sponsor. Remember, ECW had no corporate sponsors.
Right.
It was like back then there was, you know, an indie, but we're bigger, and these figures are right. Say we're making $15 million a year, but we were spending 17. No corporate sponsors, you know, expenses, planes, rings, venues, all that. So, you know, we were barely keeping afloat sometimes. So, but somehow Vince and Paul Heyman got together, and Vince liked us because Shane liked us, and he floated us $1 million at one time. You know what I mean? To keep going.
Yeah.
So it was pretty interesting, you know, but there's so much crazy stuff now that, like you said, with Ian, he does all those indie shows and does stuff like that. There's guys out there like Matthew Justice, who I manage. I met AIW.
Oh, yeah.
In Cleveland. What a group. John Thorne's a great promoter. I still work for them.
I got to see
Matthew Justice, him growing up, his idols were Van Dam and Sabu. Just my luck. And they put us together. We're naturals together, and he is really out there. He does some really outstanding death-defying things that, you know, sometimes he takes it too far, but he's Matthew Justice, and that's what he does.
I got to see you do that live, Fonzie, in Indianapolis for GCW's Collective about a year ago. My son and I, we got to meet you, and you were managing Matthew Justice against Joshua Bishop that night. And
Josh, yeah, Josh is badass. He's one of their big stars. I'm there this month.
That's an incredible. We're huge GCW fans, but AIW's fantastic. My son was 9 and he had never seen anything like it. You were incredibly nice to him. I'm not trying to kill your gimmick, but
that's why I'm still around. Hey, brother, that's why I'm still around, because I'm good-hearted to the people. Why? You know what I mean? The same guy at ECW Arena who spit on me bought me a drink at the Marriott after the show.
Nice.
I'm boys with Mike Bucci. I know you know who that is, and he wanted me to tell you he loves you, Fonzie. He said you were always awesome to him. Mike and I worked for the same bank for many years. So
great. Hey, you know what? The good guys last. If you're a dick in this business, you don't last.
That's it. Yep.
That's true in any business. But you know what I mean. People's been good to me. I'm just a naturally kind of cool guy, but I like my people.
Right on. I'm going to jump around a little bit, Fonzie, if that's all right. Kind of go here and there.
Thank you for having me on. I got great stories. I'm so glad. I sent you some whistles. Did you get them?
I think they are still en route, but I think they're supposed to be at my place by like Friday.
But we do have one, right?
We have one for giveaway tonight.
We got one for the giveaway tonight.
I sent you one for this show, and then I sent you something.
Yeah, we got that one. So we're going to be doing something like that here before too long.
Okay, great.
I do have some questions coming in from people too.
Looks like we got some audience questions, Fonzie, if you don't mind answering a couple.
All right. Yeah, Floyd Fisher's listening in, and he asks, during the infamous Brody Luger cage match, when did Fonzie realize Brody was not going to cooperate, and what can you do as a ref when that happens?
I'm so glad he asked this.
Well, I play it by ear. That's not a common thing in pro wrestling, that two guys don't get along in the ring. You know what I mean? Generally, they have a great match. You know, bam, 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 back and forth, and no problem. But once in a while, something happens. But so what happened in that match? And I was lucky to be on it, and we wouldn't be talking about it today if it wasn't for what happened, because Lex Luger was new in the business. They were grooming him. I was in the dressing room at 106 North Albany where we taped TV when they gave him his name, Dusty, Mike Graham. It was his TV debut. And they said something, like something strong, man, something like a gun or a 45 or a Luger. And Dusty said, Luger, Lex Luger, whatever, and they were handpicking his opponents because he was an athlete. He looked great, had a great body, had a great work ethic, a good-looking kid, wanted to succeed, but he wasn't a natural in the ring. He had to work hard. You know what I mean? Like Barry Windham was a natural. He could do everything. And Luger was good, but he was just not a natural, so he had to work hard. So they were handpicking his opponents. They wanted to get him over. They wanted him to be the next big star. We put all this time in him. They trained him here in Matsuda and all that, trained him at the Florida office, and they wanted him to succeed. So handpicking his opponents, and he was used to going over. So finally, we were in Miami Beach. Fort Lauderdale. And they booked it as Dan Brody, who is temperamental, is a big star, been in Japan his whole career, been around the world, worked for Vince, he's Bruiser Brody. And it was a specialty thing, like a couple of times a year, Andre would come into our territory, like Fabulous Moolah or the Midgets or Mil Mascaras or somebody famous like that, Nick Bockwinkel. Somebody come in for the week, and go out. So Brody was just in for a couple of shots. He was basically in Puerto Rico. And so there was no booker there. I was in charge that night, as a referee should be. Dusty was a booker, but he was booked out in Houston or wherever he was that night. He was a world champion or whatever. And so they just sent me with the finishes and stuff. And so they end up locking up and all that. And Brody said, who the hell? This is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking like Brody. I'm Brody. Who the hell does this young kid think he is? He's beautiful. But listen to me, kid. Let me do my thing. But Luger would not listen. He wasn't used to it. Brody's temperamental. He's kind of mean. He's a tough guy. And man, it just got carried away. The more time goes by, Luger was panicking. Said, Fonzie, what do I do? I said, well, grab me if you watch the match. And shortly after, I said, grab me, throw me against a cage real stiff, and I'll disqualify you. So you're out of the thing if that's what you want to do. So that's what he did. And then Luger, climbed over the fucking fence and split. But he was, and no heat from it. Nobody got fired. Nobody got nothing. But it wasn't cool. And it wasn't Luger's fault either, and it wasn't Brody's fault. So it just happened.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just happened. And it wasn't, they shouldn't have booked that match. It was a bad booking, whoever booked it.
So you mentioned before you were actually the assistant booker in Florida for a while under, you said Bob Roop, right?
Correct. I went through a lot of bookers there. When I first started in May 1980, Dusty was a booker. Dory Funk was a booker. I went through so many. Michael Hayes was a booker there for a while. Dutch Mantell, Bob Roop, Dusty several times, and a few more that I'm forgetting. But they would all come to me since I was trained. I was lucky enough to be schooled by Eddie Graham and Dusty with all these complicated finishes every week. Because remember, territories. Every week I was in West Palm on Monday. Every week, Tampa Tuesday, Wednesday, Miami. Thursday was Jacksonville. Friday and Saturday were spot shows. Could be the Bayfront Center, could be Lakeland Civic Center. And Friday and Saturday was spot shows, and then Sunday Orlando. But it repeated itself week after week after week. I mean, every Monday I'm in West Palm Beach. I was part of a record that they ran and sold out Miami Beach Convention Center like 66 weeks in a row. Wow. It was crazy. How the hell do they do that? 3,585 people every Wednesday night, crammed in the Miami Beach Convention Center. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's crazy to be a part of that. So, but we were all on the A game, and it was entertainment like hell, and people loved it. There was no football, there was no basketball, there was no internet, no TV, so people really enjoyed the sport, you know.
Yeah.
We were the only ticket in town, so I knew my game. So yeah, I was assistant booker. And anyway, when after Dusty left, and I went through so many bookers like Dory Funk and Dutch Mantel and Michael Hayes and this guy and that guy, but they all used to ask me for advice because I knew I learned from Eddie Graham, and I was schooled with Jack Fresco, Bobo Pizzil, all these great guys, man. So I knew my craft. By the age of 26 years old, I was already a renowned referee. They loved me for some reason. I was small, made the guys look big. I could do my job. I wasn't scared to get bumped around. I never missed a show. I knew my finishes. I knew how to get people in and out, help young guys. And that's why Bob Roop asked me to be his assistant. So I held that for a while. And they used to ask me for finishes all the time. In fact, I got mad at Dory Funk one time. This is not a cool story, but this is a story. So, you know, I just told you westbound Monday, Tampa Tuesday. We were doing, 1,800 miles a week, every week. That's a lot of traveling. So we were at a spot show like on a Friday night at a high school. It was north of Jacksonville, in some high school. And Jacksonville's 200, so it was about 270 miles from home. And usually they send 5 matches. It's a high school. They send Barry Windham on top, whatever. So Dory Funk says, I can't think of a finish, so I'm just going to go a 60-minute Broadway, to time limit. I said, Dory, are you fucking crazy? We were just in Miami Beach last night. We did TV yesterday. We got almost 300 miles to drive back. You want to go 60-minute Broadway? Just put the fucking kid over. You know what I mean? I got an argument with him. It's stupid to give these people 60 minutes. Just give them a fun fucking entertainment night and let's go, man. And that's what he ended up doing. It wasn't no argument. It was just a sensible thing to say. So it was pretty cool. And Dory loves me. Dory fucking loves me. His wife doesn't for some reason, but Dory does.
It's actually kind of funny. I was doing research a couple weeks ago, getting ready for this, and one of the sites I went to actually tried to say that Bob Roop was your stepbrother.
No, that's been in a couple of different articles. I've seen that. No relation to Bob Roop at all, other than a dear friend and badass. You know what I mean? No relation. They got me as Billy Sierra. My last name's Alfonso on the shoot. But
I know there was a rumor you were related to Mike Awesome too, because his last name is also Alfonso.
Yeah, I met Mike in Japan. I've been to Japan 13 times. Tokyo is one of my favorite cities. We'll talk about the Flair Fujinami match if you want to later.
Oh yeah.
But I was in Japan. It was over there for referee, whatever the fuck I was doing there. I was in my home hotel room and my phone rings. So who the hell's calling me? Probably so it was Mike Awesome working for another company. He said, "Hey, my name's Mike Alfonso, just like you. I heard you were in town. Man, we're both from Tampa, with no relation at all. We ended up being pals and buddies all the way to the end. God bless him, Yeah.
Man, he was one of my favorites. Just incredible athlete.
What a beast. What a beast. And what a what a nice guy, too. Oh, my God. Good guy. Fun. Like to party a little bit and all that. But just something happened, man. And who had some of the greatest matches? Him and Tanaka.
Oh, absolutely.
And ECW, man. They were just great.
For my money, they were right up there with like Dreamer and Raven as far as my favorite rivalries in ECW.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Dreamer and Raven. Boy, there was some big stars. Hey, when I first got to ECW, Paul Heyman called me. I was fresh out of WWF. WWF cut me because I was one of the last referees they hired. I came in right after WrestleMania 2, and then did WrestleMania 3, and I left before 4. So
you did
Paul
WrestleMania
Heyman
3?
calls, excuse me?
You did WrestleMania 3?
Yeah, the Caesar's Palace. No, was it 9 or the one at Caesar's Palace?
Oh, that was 9.
Yeah, 9. Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't remember seeing you on 3.
I came in right after 8. I did WrestleMania 9, and then I left before 10.
Be honest, was it Giant Gonzalez the last straw?
Oh, very cool. Did you guys know that I was Giant Gonzalez's personal assistant for 3 years?
Is that right?
For WCW and WWF, and we became really good friends.
Oh, wow.
I was his personal assistant for 3 years. I got some really cool stories about him.
I've heard some interesting stories about El Gigante, Giant Gonzalez, from like in Jim Ross's books and on various podcasts, but he always seemed like a really cool guy.
Very nice, and he didn't. The women loved him. He had the giants disease like Andre, where Andre's his gland. His forehead started protruding, and his jaw got bigger and his bones got bigger. But the Giant Gonzalez had the same thing. He used to tell me all the time, Fonzie, I'm going to die young, just like Andre. I said, I'm sorry, but what do you tell a guy like that?
Oh,
but
man.
he didn't have the he's hardly at he wasn't protruding. He just looked like a big, good-looking Spanish kid.
Oh,
and the women, I'm not talking about women that go to wrestling like the Rats or whatever. I'm talking about we go to the mall and fucking blonde, fucking beautiful girls, housewives would be following us around. They just loved him. He's beautiful and one of nature's beautiful. I don't mean to use the word freaks, but one of nature's beautiful things. Is a freak of nature.
Yeah. Was he legit 8 feet tall, or was that kind of a?
No, it was work. He was 7'8".
Okay.
7'8". Something he looked 8 foot tall. But,
yeah, because he was the biggest guy I'd ever seen in wrestling when he showed up. And I saw him first in WWF. I didn't see his stuff in WCW till later. But when he showed up and started going with the Undertaker, that's when I first saw him.
Yeah, he wrestled the Undertaker in 9 at Jesus Palace.
Yeah, I remember you took a choke slam from the Giant.
Yeah. Yep.
But
the week before, Vince has a show somewhere at like a high school or something with upstate New York. Basically, some of the matches that are going to be in WrestleMania. So they had Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez kind of do a match before they did the big match at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. So they had their timing right, work with each other. And the finish was he grabs referee, me, and gives me the big choke slam. So when he got me up for the finish, he grabbed me, and I was up there like 20 feet, and it seemed, because he was that tall, plus his arms another 4 foot long. So I was way up there. Instead of letting me float down, kind of semi-easy, he rushed me down and totally knocked me out. Concussion, had to be rushed to the hospital, the whole 9 yards. And he felt terrible. It's I'm taking care of the Giant. We traveled together for 3 years, and he felt terrible. But he did at WrestleMania and didn't kill me that time.
Marco, you got
yeah, we have one of our listeners is calling in. He'd like to speak to you personally and ask you a question. Are you good with that, Fonzie?
Yeah, absolutely, Daddy. Thanks for the call in, Daddy.
Hey, Jonathan, we're getting you on the air. Jonathan, can you hear me okay? You're on mute right now, it looks like. We got to get your voice. Let's get your voice in there. There he is. Jonathan, can you hear me okay?
Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, you're on with Fonzie. Go ahead and ask the question.
Fonzie, first of all, John, where are you from?
I'm from right around where these guys are from, near Champaign, Illinois, St. Joseph, Illinois, to be exact.
Yep, I love Chicago.
Yeah, we're a couple hours south of Chicago, but yeah, Chicago's a hot
I got friends, P.L. Myers and several other wrestling buddies that live in that Champaign and the surrounding areas of Chicago.
Nice. Well, I was wondering if you could relive 1 year, in your wrestling career, maybe a couple year span. What time frame would you go back and relive? I know that's not something that's possible, but
right. But that's a cool question. it either have to be what 1 year I was so on fire with Van Dam and Sabu, the 2 year wrestling, the TV title and all that, being on top. That 1 year we just did nothing but sell out small buildings and pay-per-views and stuff. And then I also did that year with Vince, 93, Wrestlemania 9. And I would go back to that year because I made a nice six-figure and loved it and was very good at my craft and got to dress up and travel around the world. And that was very cool and work with all, the greats, Hogan, of course, and Savage and all those guys, and Vince McMahon and everybody. So those two, I got two, that year with Van Dam and Sabu and the 93 in WWF.
That's awesome. One other question. I'm kind of a collectible guy myself. I collect a lot of things. Have you collected things over the years from wrestling? Are you into that at all, or mementos from any special moments?
I wish I would have done more things and kept more things. I've given a lot of stuff away to fans and organizations that fundraisers and stuff. But I like the NWA World Title belt. I had bought that one for my grandson, the one that's got the globe on it. The one that Flair had before the new one. I got some cool stuff. I got thousands of pictures and magazines and covers that I'm on and stuff. That's pretty flattering to have all that stuff. And the pictures mean more to me than anything. I got tons of pictures of classic pictures from day one till present.
All the memories.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot for the question, Jonathan. Thanks for listening.
All right, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks, Daddy.
So you mentioned working with Savage and Hogan. Did you know Hogan from Tampa, like before he blew up?
Well, actually, I didn't know him. We weren't friends. We didn't go out and have a soda or a beer together. But around the same time that I used to go, remember I told you that my dad got me the tickets from Frank Klein, the sports editor on the Compton. I used to get my own tickets, and we never sat down. We would stand against the wall in the back. We could see perfect, where we were. And down the line, there was Hulk Hogan standing against the same wall.
Oh, wow.
Before he broke into business. And actually, he broke into business in Florida. Hiro Matsuda trained him and stretched him and hurt his leg real bad. And,
I remember hearing that. Broke his ankle or something on his first day.
Yeah. And Jack Briscoe gave him his first pair of wrestling boots, who I adore. I love Jack Briscoe. He's one of my favorite world champions, one of my favorite wrestlers.
Oh, he was a great one, yeah.
All right, Mark, do you happen to have a trivia question that Bill will tell us if the person answered correctly? If you've got the question, everybody listening, listen to the question. The first person to answer it correctly is going to win this autographed whistle from Bill, and Bill is going to let us know. I will read him the answers, and when he hears the one that's right, that person wins. So
this is going to fall under our Brown M&M that we do every episode. Earlier on, we talked about Fonzie's first big match in Texas in Lubbock was a match between Terry Funk and the original Sheik. So the question is, what was these?
Daddy.
I'm sorry?
1978.
78. So the question is, what was the stipulation of the match? The first person to answer in the feed will win an autographed, authentic Bill Alfonso whistle.
I'll give you a hint. It was not a cage match.
All right. So, not a cage match, 78, Bill Alfonso.
Funk and the Sheik.
Funk and the Sheik. What's your answer, folks? What was the stipulation?
Yep. So, while
we're waiting for somebody to answer.
Oh, hang on. We got one.
Floyd Fisher has answered Texas Death Match.
Well, that is wrong.
That is wrong. Duane Carter come in with Chain Match.
Duane is the winner of...
All right, Duane. Congratulations.
Awesome. Nice job,
Kyle was
Duane.
right in behind him, but Duane did answer first. Duane, we got a whistle for you, brother. You know we can find you.
Oh, yeah.
We know where you live.
Yeah, thanks, Duane, for participating. And I'm going to send you guys some more whistles. Everybody seems to like them.
Yeah.
And, I did not like the whistle. Paul Heyman gave me this whistle, not to change the subject, but Paul Heyman put me with Taz because I was so over I got so much heat as being the anti-ECW referee, and Taz got hurt, and so they put us together. So my first night, Paul Heyman gave me a whistle. So he said, Fonzie, this is your new gimmick. You're hyper. You just be Fonzie and turn it up a little bit. So what you see is naturally me out there. I'm a hyper anyway. So he gave me this whistle to blow, and I get embarrassed to blow it. I didn't want to blow a whistle. What the fuck? Give me a whistle for it. So the next week, I didn't bring it with me. He said, Fonzie, where's your gimmick? Where's your whistle? That's your fucking trademark. And then I got it. Then from that day, I got it. And I blow my whistle, and I'm known. If you didn't know my name, you say, oh, that's the guy with Van Dam blows a whistle. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I remember watching back. Yeah.
Yeah, it works out to the merchandise, and everybody seems to like it.
So a friend of mine, Dustin Danger, who's actually he's actually sponsoring the episode today. He was actually going to join us in studio, but something came up. He could not make it. But he sent me a question for you pertaining to the whistle. He says, I'm genuinely curious. Would you typically use the same whistle if that's not already known? So, would you always have the same one, or would you switch them out here and there?
I've had the same whistle probably, unless I lose it to a fan or that gets ruined or something happens to it. I generally keep the same whistle. I buy a top of the line Coach's 5-star, $30, $40 whistle, the best one you can buy. Yeah. And then I've had the same one now for about the last 5 years.
Oh wow! So
the ones in the box and the packagings are gimmick whistles, of course. But but I would use one of those if I had to. Believe me.
Yeah. So Dustin had a follow up. He says he's a musician. We both play music. So this question kind of goes more into your routine, going into a show. He says, theoretically, if you can practice, rehearse, go through it in your mind all you want, but when you pick up that guitar finally for showtime, there's a feeling. Did you feel that with your whistle, or was there another moment in your routine where you fell into character, during a show?
No matter if I talked about Madison Square, no matter if I go get ready to go to the current Madison Square or get on a podcast or do one of these indie shows or perform or go to a convention and sign for 3 hours, or I'm going to a couple of stores next week, the toy stores, to do some stuff. I get butterflies still, and it seems that when I walk through those curtains, blow my whistle, it sets everything, makes me calm, and I'm as cool as a cucumber out there at all times. But so the whistle does help. The whistle does help. Once I hear the music start, Van Dam's music, I still use Van Dam's music when I do intros today.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. And I get a good response, and people love the whistle, and I blow it to a certain extent going out, but then I rarely blow it too much ringside. Yeah. But I do. But
all right, another one of our listeners has another question. These guys are eating it up. I love it. Kyle Reed, who would be our runner-up in the contest because he answered literally seconds after Duane and answered correctly. His question is, what is your most memorable match where you were the referee?
Oh, my God, that is a great question, but there's too many answers. You know what I mean? To see Jack Briscoe and Dory Funk referee one of their matches, or Dusty in the cowbell match, a bull rope match, or there's so many. The Flair Fujinami match in front of 65,000 in Japan and Tokyo Dome. Some of the girls' matches, Fabulous Moolah back in the day. There's so many matches that were so cool to referee and be a part of it. It's hard to pinpoint one. But one that I particularly like is Barry Windham and Harley Race.
Oh, wow.
Listen to this story. It's a pretty cool story. You guys ready?
Sure.
Right on.
All right. We were, I said we would do TV on Wednesday and then drive to Miami every Wednesday to do the show at the Miami Beach Convention Center every Wednesday. If we were in Miami Beach, we were in Fort Lauderdale, but most of Miami Beach. So it was a sold-out show, and Harley Race was wrestling Barry Windham for the title, and Barry was like our number one baby face besides Dusty. You know what I mean? And deserved the shot and all that. So on the way down, we go through the Everglades, through Alligator Alley. I think it was Steve Kern, me, Barry Windham, Mike Rotundo, 4 of us in the car. We all got gimmicks. We're all making small money. You know, in this territory, you make $700 or $800 a week. That's what I was making back then as a referee. The 80s, that's good money. But we were buying gimmicks, and buying fuzzbusters and fucking guns and cowboy boots and all kind of shit. So we all had guns. So we stop in the Everglades, me, Barry, Steve Kern, Mike Rotundo, and I'm standing next to Kern, and Kern yells, "Hey, I'm going to shoot that sign." I said, "Fuck, anybody could hit that sign. It's fucking huge." He said, "No, I'm going to hit the pole on the sign. You know, it's a skinny pole, you know, when I'm holding the sign up." So he aims, shoots the gun. The bullet ricochets and hits Barry in the leg. Down goes
Ouch.
Barry.
Oh, no.
Now, the phone rings. Soon as Barry gets shot, the phone rings. Now, we got a phone the size of a shoebox with the battery and then a regular
You're
telephone.
talking about those giant bag phones we used to have in the cars?
Yeah, huge. I guess the phone rings and said, "It's Dusty." He said, "Hey, where you guys at?" I said, "Oh, Barry just got shot. Barry just got shot." Now he's wrestling Harley Race at a sold-out Miami Beach Convention Center. And Dusty says, "How bad is it?" I said, "Well, we can see the bullet. It ricocheted off the pole and hit him in the leg, and we can see a little bit of the bullet in the big hole." He says, "We'll dig it out, tape him up, and get his ass here." And he wrestled Harley Race 60 minutes that night.
With a bullet in his leg?
Oh, no, they pulled the bullet out.
Oh, they pulled the bullet out, but just a bullet wound.
Right.
Well, you know.
Yeah, then we took him to the hospital.
Yeah.
That's ballsy.
So,
Pretty cool story.
So, man, I can't imagine some of the stories from the road like that, especially even down in Florida.
Book stories are, worth the book that I'm going to write one day. I've been approached several times to write a book, but not by the right guy. I need a ghostwriter. I tell stories and he puts it in the book. You know what I mean?
Well, if you ever get to the point where a book is forthcoming, you make sure you let us know so we can help let the world know.
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to write it before I'm dead, hopefully.
So, Fonzie, I got a question for you. I don't know how much you watch of the new product these days, like AEW, WWE, whatever.
I watch a little bit of it. I'm not glued to the TV on Mondays or any other day.
Okay.
But if I happen to channel surf and see a match on and see what it's about, I think AEW out of Jacksonville, I think Cody is doing a great job there.
Yeah.
What I've seen and what I've heard, he's getting, they're starting to do well, and they got great talent and do some different stuff. I see his dad in his mind sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? His dad was great, ahead of his time. Dusty was ahead of his time. And some of Vince's stuff is so watered down to family entertainment.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to put it down because they're still doing good and they're providing a lot of jobs. Sure, you know what? There's like 6,000 of us, including you guys, that can be,
We're a small cog.
Wrestlers. But the problem is there's only about 70 jobs in each company. Yeah. You know what I mean?
So
to make a living. So that's what I always tell the indie guys. Man, you guys are 20 years too late, because back in the territory, you can go from territory to territory and work 7 days a week and just build your body, live, work, wrestling, travel, and work out. And it's a fucking great life. And some of them don't get it, and their only chance to make a living out of it is, go to Vince or get a contract with AEW, and it's unlikely because there's so many guys competing.
Narge here is a huge, over-the-top AEW fan. He's been cheering them on this entire time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish them nothing but good luck.
Yeah.
I wish them good luck. In fact, I wish I could, get a deal with them.
Yeah.
well, what's cool, Fonzie, is Tony Khan, who owns AEW and runs it, is from here locally where we're from, Champaign, Illinois.
Oh, really?
So that's a lot of why we,
His father owns the Jacksonville Jaguars also.
His father owns everything. Yeah.
He has Flexingate here in Champaign-Urbana.
So, Fonzie, the thing I was wondering is, when you watch wrestling, do you watch the referees with like an analytical eye to it, since with all your experience?
I always check out the referees. Of course I do. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a natural instinct, even if I do it on purpose.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do analyze it. I see a lot of young referees when I go out on the road, like this Saturday, I'm in Hialeah, Florida, which is right next to Miami, for CCW. You can go on their website and see all the stuff. They have a show every Saturday at this unbrand brewing company, which is a big brewing company. They set up a ring in the back, and it's all really cool. They have a restaurant, a barbecue place, and we draw 500 to 1,000 people every time. It's pretty cool.
Road
and they
trip.
got a referee who just had a nose broke the other day. And
wow.
Never complained. It's a team effort. You know what I mean? They're so hungry. All these young people, I just give them encouragement.
Yeah.
All the referees. Yeah, of course I watch the referees.
Yeah. I hear a lot of guys, most notably Bully Ray, Bubba Ray on Busted Open. He's usually pretty critical of the officiating on some of these TV programs. He feels some of the referees don't pay attention to the rules as much as they should in some cases. Do you ever find that when you're watching something like on AEW and some of these matches
no, but when I used to full-time ref from 1980 for 20 years all over the country, all the major companies, I was say I get in a situation where the guys go out on the floor and you give them a 10 count to get back in the ring. You know what I mean? And so you got to work around them. So you still give them a 10 count, but I would roll out. I would tell them, I would stay out there with them for a few seconds, roll back in, say, hey, you got, give them a warning, then give them a 10 count. Then they have plenty of time to do their stuff. So I don't rush them, and I give them plenty of time. So I work around any problems. So you got to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
But then it makes sense for the wrestlers to pay attention to the rules, especially back in the day, in the territories when it was wrestling, Yeah. Because a 10 count would mean something. You know what I mean? The first man up to his feet wins a match, or, certain things like that. And so the rules would really mean something.
Yeah. So
that's why they had no Saturday night, no disqualification. Oh my God, that was a big thing. There was no tables and chairs and fire and barbed wire back then. You know what I mean? It was no disqualification match. That was a fucking big thing.
Right. Narge, you got something?
I do. Fonzie, I had a quick question here. We've touched on quite a bit. You've worked with maybe 3 of the biggest personalities in ECW history. Of the 3, is there one that stood out more than another, or did you enjoy your time with each of them equally? It's kind of crazy to see where they've all went in their careers this late. Later on, Rob Van Dam's out living his best life with his new wife, Katie.
They're not married yet.
They're not? Okay.
On the 11th. They get married November 11th.
But he's enjoying his life.
Will you be at the wedding, Bill?
I've been thinking about going. I was invited by Van Dam, and I'm not sure if I can make it. I'm trying to crunch it in there because I'm booked somewhere else. I'm trying my best. But I just seen him. I just spent a day with him and Katie, and I see him a couple of times a year at different events that they use me for. We just were at the ECW Arena at Feinstein's convention and had matches that night. And I was with him and Katie.
Yeah, I saw somebody describe Rob Van Dam the other day online as he's basically completed his whole life, and now he's just living out the bonus chapters. He's basically he's doing everything that I think any full-blooded male would love to do. Katie and her friends are gorgeous ladies. So
yeah, he's actually one of my favorite guys. He's done well. He's made a little money, and he's saved it, and invested it, and done well. And he still looks great and still badass. He's got those super legs, man. And what a great guy. I love Van Dam.
So what I wanted to segue into, though, Bill, was so he was, there was a little talk about him and Tommy a few weeks ago on a show on TV called Dark Side of the Ring. I don't know if you've seen any of it.
I've seen it. I've watched a lot of the episodes.
What I wanted to ask you about was an episode about 2 weeks ago on XPW. They invaded the ECW Heatwave 2000. I'm pretty sure you were there with Rob that night, and he took on Scotty Anton, right?
In California?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that. I don't remember too much about it, but all I remember was a bunch of guys, big guys that I didn't know and didn't know XPW or any of the companies out there, whatever. And then we had all our big guys, Big Dick Dudley and a bunch of guys. And I remember chasing them out of the arena somehow. I was outside, not chasing, but a bunch of guys and them running or something like that, literally running down the street from like a mob of people, it seemed like.
And that's what I wanted to ask. I know they introduced the late New Jack on the show, and they interviewed him, not introduced him. They interviewed the late New Jack on the show, and he had described quite a scene backstage afterwards with some of the ECW talent and some of the XPW, I think, ring crew. So I was just kind of curious what your experience was. I had asked Nova, and he said it was wild.
It wasn't a work. It wasn't a work. It was a shoot.
Wow.
Nice. Okay.
I remember when that happened on the pay-per-view, just seeing all the ECW guys running to ringside from the back, just a
right.
Rush.
That's what I think. I was in the ring or it's something, and I just was.
I think somebody grabbed Francine or something on the outside.
As I remember it, yeah.
So, Fonzie, I got a couple more questions, but then we're going to get into our throwback segment I told you about. But
okay.
I kind of want to go back to 1997. That's my favorite year in wrestling, and you guys were on a roll in ECW. And I texted you yesterday because I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube, and I watched the clip from Wrestlpalooza when Jerry Lawler showed up, when Van Dam and Sabu were beating down Dreamer, and then Lawler came in and just mayhem with everybody coming out.
He grabbed the mic and was in the ring with the suit on with the mic, or came in and hit Tommy with the cane in the nuts.
No, I'm talking about when he showed up in just when the lights went out. It was after Dreamer beat Raven on one of the pay-per-views.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy because then Sandman comes out, the Gangsters come out, Paulie came out, and he was getting beat up by Sabu, I think. And then finally Taz came out and ran everybody off. But I wanted to know about the atmosphere because I don't think I ever heard the ECW arena get louder on a video that I had watched. Because I've never been able to go there because, it's Philly.
And I was standing right next to Lawler. Lawler had access to the microphone and it was talking and all the mayhem was going on there. And it was pretty cool. That was total Vince and we didn't know what was going on between Vince and Paul Heyman. You know what I mean? We were lucky to just to show up and work every weekend and get paid great and have a great atmosphere. We didn't know the company was suffering so much or getting ready to explode, or we didn't know if Vince was working with Paul and Paul was working with Vince. They had mutual. It had to be.
Right. But
it was a great night. You're right. That night was freaking unbelievable. It was pretty cool. Thanks for remembering that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We talked on this show a few weeks ago about the lack of real heat anymore with the heels on TV. Like, everybody seems they're almost afraid to get a lot of heat. But then you go back and you watch something from ECW with Lawler or the Dudley Boys, and nobody gave a crap back then. They'd say whatever they wanted and just piss everybody off. And it was just marvelous.
It was being at the right place at the right time. There was a time for that. There was a market for it. Who knew? And it just worked. And they couldn't have picked a bunch of better guys. There was a bunch of guys came through, and Paul Heyman had the sense to keep, New Jack Sandman. So, I was telling you, when I first came in there, Paul Heyman called me and said, "Fonzie, come into ECW." I said, "What the fuck's an ECW?" Because I just came off of all the major companies. I've never worked an indie show in my life. Right. You know what I mean? I've been Ric Flair and Harley Race and all those guys my whole career. Vince, Hogan. And he says, we got a small company, go to ECW, just come in. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we hear you good.
Said, just come in. And so I came in, my first night in, I walk in the dressing room, I got Louis Vuitton luggage, I got a Rolex on, I got a suit on. I walk in the fucking dressing room, and there's the Sandman. There's Tommy Dreamer. I didn't know hardly anybody. Raven I knew from Johnny Polo and all that. I know
Right.
Raven Look. I didn't know who the fuck are these guys. You know what I mean? They said the same thing about me. You know, can Fonzie pull this off? You know what I mean? And don't worry, everything's too. But what I'm saying is, Paul Heyman created his own stars. Look at Sandman, Sabu, Van Dam, Tommy Dreamer, Raven, the Dudleys, the Dudley Boys, all Little Guido. So many characters, the Eliminators, a bunch of guys. You know, the Barry Lynn, my goodness, the Mike Awesome, what characters we had to go through there, man.
Yeah.
And they all became big stars. That was like a stepping stone for most of them.
Yeah. But, man, just like you said, that's just ECW back then. For a teenager in high school, it was just gold for us young wrestling fans. But
I get guys all the time coming up to me, younger guys, teenagers now, or in their early 20s, and say, "Oh man, the ECW." Oh, man. I said, "Brother, what year were you born?" "Oh, 2007."
They might have been conceived after an ECW match
or during.
Well, their parents introduced them to it. Then they YouTubed everything, and so they know everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's pretty fucking flattering for somebody.
I'm sure. Like that. I'm sure Narge has shown his 9-year-old some ECW not too long ago.
Oh yeah, he has, and he's met Tommy Dreamer, and we met Fonzie, and I kind of marked out for Fonzie when we'd met him in Indy 2 years back. So my son's got a photo with him, and big ECW fans. That really is. I miss that, and a lot of these independent companies these days. GCW, for instance, is kind of a throwback to ECW. I really feel like they have an eclectic group of characters,
they know
storylines and violence, and it's different, and that's what I think a lot of people want.
I opened a door for the old lady. I'm not trying to buy my way to heaven, but so can you imagine if I met you back then and you and your son, I told your son to fuck off and say, "Hey, go back, go get the fuck back." Can you imagine if I said something like that to you?
I'm such a fan. I would have loved it. I love some of the heel work on TV. I don't get offended, Fonzie. So I like some of the cutting edge heel work. You probably could have told him that, and I probably would have agreed.
Kyler would have.
You just said, "Hey, Kyler, check it out. He just told you to fuck off."
Yeah, that's probably what I would have said. So,
all right.
So I'll grab him by the throat. I usually want to take a picture, and I'll do a little promo with him now. I say, put the video on. I say, "Hey," and then I say, "What's your name?" He said, "Tyler." "Hey, Tyler, he's a winner just like me, Daddy." And they love that.
Nice.
It takes me 30 seconds to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You guys are just cool, man. That's why I'm here today.
Yeah, right.
ECW and you guys. Thanks.
Oh, man, anytime. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask about one more thing, and that's the match you had with Beulah back at As Good As It Gets in '97. I
beat her ass. If I didn't bleed like I did, we would not be talking about that match. It would be just another, boy versus girl or whatever.
You took some shots in that match. Just that cookie sheet. I wince every time I see that when I watch it back now from the start of it. But I didn't.
The thing is, two wrestlers. Nobody's ever seen me. I'm not a wrestler. I tell the guys all the time on these indie shows, I say, "Hey, if I get close to you, just fucking push me, shove me." I never get close to them. I said, "It doesn't make no sense for you to hit me. I should be dead. Or for me to get close to you, you kill me." You know what I mean? So I treat it like a shootout there.
Right.
So being two non-wrestlers and got into that. Yeah. That was pretty cool. And somehow we pulled it off. We were both nervous as fuck.
Yeah. I won't lie. I was very fond of Beulah when I was a teenager.
Oh, she was beautiful.
She was a knockout back then, man.
There's this one picture. She's like squatting, but she got like a dark bikini on or something. She got her hair. She's looks like.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Everybody's memory banks just went right.
Remember, I think I still have that saved somewhere.
Beulah's blowing up on Google right now.
It's in the bank.
So, Marco,
and she's a nice girl. Now, she's like twins. Tommy and her still married.
Yeah.
She's a baby now. She's a housewife. I love her. God bless her.
Yeah.
Thanks, Beulah, for putting me over that night. I actually have put her over.
Yeah, I think you both put each other over that night. Everybody looked at both of you in a very different way after that match. But
I had to get rushed to the hospital. So we go backstage. I'm bleeding only for about 9 minutes, right? The match is 7 minutes and 10 seconds long or whatever. So, and I got whacked the first 30 seconds of the match. I got busted open. Mm-hmm. So I bled the whole time. When I get back to the dressing room, it's pretty cool. I get back to the dressing room, the paramedics are there. The state-of-the-art paramedics, real ones. They couldn't stop the bleeding.
Oh, wow.
I hit an artery or something was wrong in there. So they put a cold plate of steel on my head and wrapped it up with a white gauze. They sent me to the hospital, head trauma. So I overshadowed everybody else. It was people, it was a Saturday night, there was 100 people in there. They bypassed them all because of head trauma.
Yeah.
So a nurse comes in, a doctor, and she said, get them ready. So she starts undoing my Band-Aid. I said, don't do that. Because she said, don't tell me what to do. I've been a nurse for 30 years. So she undid the Band-Aids. As soon as that piece of cold steel fell off, juice squirted out all over her white fucking outfit, all over her face and shit. And she got pissed off. But anyway, so
serves her right.
So they fixed me up, and they bring in the dog paddles, and the electric things that shock you. So they bring those in. I said, what are those for? They said, just in case. I said, okay. So I was starting to faint or whatever, go under, and they held my legs up. But anyway, they fixed me up, and they wanted to admit me. Here's the cool part. They wanted to admit me. And I said, no, I got a 6 a.m. flight out. They made me sign all kind of legal documents to sign myself out.
An AMA.
Stay overnight under doctor's orders. So they said, okay, you can go, but whatever you do, don't take any pills, don't drink, don't smoke anything, don't do nothing. So as soon as they wheeled me out in a wheelchair, and there's Sandman. He's got a 44-ounce full of vodka and cranberry for me. He's smoking a joint. We smoke pot and taking pills, and I go party with him.
Well, I mean, you didn't want to keep feeling the pain.
Crazy, right?
Right.
I was lucky alive.
So Duane, our winner tonight, had a question for you. It's, what advice would you give to someone who is trying to break into the business?
Give it time, and no matter how good or bad you are, it's being in the right place at the right time. It's fun. You work on a weekend. I work with a bunch of students at CCW out of South Florida, Coastal Championship Wrestling. Is great. They got a school, and they use a lot of students to put up the rings, and they're training them, and some of the students are working. They put them in battle royals. They're having fun. They're paying their dues. Just hang in there. It took a long time for me to start making money. If you're in it for the money, forget it.
You're in the wrong biz.
Right,
all right.
Because there's 5,000 of us, and there's only 300 jobs that pay where you can make a living. But you never know. You could be the next Rock, Daddy.
Yeah.
Well, that won't be any of us, I promise.
No.
All right, so you're still doing personal appearances, so I was just wondering, most of our listeners currently are in the Midwest, Champaign, Illinois, within 120 miles, maybe Chicago, Indy, St. Louis. Will you be making any appearances in the next 3 to 6 months that we want to know about?
Well, I wish I was out that way. I'm more in the Northeast, it seems. Like on the 20th, I'm in Philly. I'm in Pittsburgh, Erie, and somewhere in Ohio. And then I go to Toledo, and then I do a lot of South Florida stuff. So nothing. I was offered something out in Texas not too long ago, but I was already prior booked, so I couldn't do that one. But I will definitely call you up if I get out that way anyway. I would love that area.
That would be great.
In the winter, I used to catch climatitis all the time because working for Vince at WCW, you're on the road 7 to 10 days, you're home 3. Mm-hmm. On the road 7 days to 10 days, you're home 3. It could be 9 days, no more than 10, no less than 7. You leave your house and then you're in the hotel 7 days. But I used to come, I live in Florida, so I'd go to Canada for 7 days and come back, below zero, and then come back to 85-degree weather. I'd go back and forth and catch climatitis, the doctor told me. I said, well, what the fuck's climatitis? He said, Fonzie, you're up there in the cold and back in the heat, up in the cold and back in the heat. But damn, I would love, if you guys hear any shows out there, drop my name.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd love
I know we got a couple of indie promotions around here that I'm sure we could probably drop your name to and maybe get you out this way.
Yeah, I'd love to come out.
Yeah, David Cavazos, if you're listening to this, consider this a reference.
But he's got a small company there.
He's got a small company in the Champaign County area called 01 USA.
Nice.
And
good for him.
Like I know they get some big names in here every now and then. They got Billy Gunn not too long ago. They got Sonny coming in December.
Do they run once a month, or how often do they run?
I'm not sure. Do you?
Yeah, I believe it's usually once a month. I know before COVID they were running pretty consistently, but
oh, that's cool. If they're drawing 300 people, that's doing pretty good, because some of these shows that I do, there's 350 people, and then usually they're good, better shows. There's 500 plus or 1,000 people.
Yeah.
At these these little indie wrestling shows that I do. Which is pretty cool. With no TV, just off the internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, if you ever get booked out in Champaign, give me a call. We will come and get you at the airport, and we'll just hang out with you.
Oh, you guys, the dinner. I see that. And if you ever Tampa Bay, if you ever come to Disney or something, call me up prior, and we'll make sure we have dinner or something.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm all week.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm retired. I'm 64, Daddy. But I work every weekend. I'm booked. I probably worked 45 weekends last year, and I'm still booked all the way this month. I'm booked. I think I got one weekend off. Next month I'm booked, and then hopefully 2022 keeps going, man. So I love working on weekends, just making appearances, and managing. I haven't refereed in years, but I would on a special match or something to bring me in a nostalgia thing, but.
Yeah, Fonzie. So Tony Khan, he likes to use some of the legends, and I consider you one of the legends, and you've got some friends down there in AEW, Taz being one of them. Hypothetically speaking, if they called you up and said, "Hey, we want to bring you in," would you come on board? Would you go full time with them if they offered something like that?
Yeah, of course I would. I'd be silly not to. Of course, that'd make me even more relevant. After I left there, you know what I mean? If I got 6 months or a year run there, making 6 figures would be great. It's not about the money. I just like to work. You know what I mean? So I make reasonable money on the road. But it's not killer money, but it's fucking great. I have a good time, man. I fly out every weekend somewhere. This Saturday, I'm driving to Hialeah, Florida for CCW. It's 200 and some miles round, one way. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I work for them all the time. They run 3 or 4 times a month in South Florida.
Oh, wow.
Pretty cool.
So, Fonzie, I told you on the phone, we do a segment every episode called The Throwback, where we break down a classic match from back in the day. And,
yes, you did.
And you suggested to me, I asked if you wanted to help us out with it this week, and you said absolutely. And you suggested we talk about the match you mentioned earlier with Ric Flair and Tatsumi Fujinami from the Super Show in Tokyo in '91. So,
I thought that would be a good thing to talk about. You guys break it down. I'll disagree with you and then tell you my little bits and pieces I remember of it.
Yeah.
That's a good match because it's a world-class incident. It's a world-class meet. You know what I mean? It's
and that was Tokyo Dome, right? Right. And it was the first joint show. It was WCW and Fujinami's group. First joint show, sold out, main event. They held the belt up. Controversy. I was part of it. Yeah.
That's how I got my gig in WCW, because I stayed with Florida Championship Wrestling, and then WCW started. Dusty went up there, and there wasn't time for me to go up there yet. So, but they asked me to do the Fujinami Flair match, and I did. And Dusty was there with his whole crew.
Yeah.
And that night after the match, I did really good, and I sewed a Japanese flag. My dear old mom, who passed away, she would have been 90 something. She sewed a Japanese flag and an American flag. I went out and bought a beautiful beautiful, nice white press designer shirt and a fucking 25, nice bow tie. I got my hair cut, look beautiful, nice shoes, pants. And then I had those flags on. The Japanese office loved it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
U.S. versus Japan. So at the end of the night, Dusty said, Fonzie, baby, it's going to happen for you. That's all he said. He said, I'm going to have Jody Hamilton, who just passed away. Yeah. I'm going to have Jody call you. And that was, I said, thanks, Dusty. That was all. Then Jody called me like 3 days later. We got back to the U.S. and Dusty wants you to start full-time up here refereeing.
Nice.
Ted Turner, WCW. And I went up there.
Yeah.
Fucking great. And so that match was a classic, man. Yeah. Flair was on fire. They sold the place out. Fujinami was a big #1 guy.
Yeah, he was right underneath Inoki as far as draw there, right?
Inoki and Fujinami are the two big names that I remember.
Yeah, and you refereed with one of my favorite referees, Tiger Hattori from New Japan.
Oh yeah,
he was on the outside on that match.
Yeah, remember the luggage the boys used to get, the Halliburton bags. You know what I mean? The Halliburton suitcase. Mm-hmm. I just bought a brand new one. The gold ones, all the boys. Ric Flair had one. All the boys had them. And Hattori couldn't get one in Tokyo. Wanted mine real bad. I gave it to him. I loved him.
Nice.
Badass. Yeah.
He was a great referee.
Yes.
I watched. Yeah. He retired not too long ago in New Japan, and they gave him the whole treatment.
Man, I haven't seen him since that night. He used to come to Florida once in a while because Hiro Matsuda owned championship. A small piece was Eddie Graham. Hiro Matsuda, Duke Tanaka owned Florida Championship Wrestling, the territory. Mm-hmm. And of course, Matsuda's Japanese. He would bring Japanese back and forth and send Americans back and forth to Japan for the company at the time. So I met Hattori several times in my career and worked with him the last time, Fujinami Flair.
Yeah. So Narj, you watched the match earlier today. What were your takeaways from it?
I thought it was. It's an awesome match. It's 30 minutes of solid action. I like that Flair got color like he always does. Ric Flair is one of the best at making sure to pull out that emotion from the crowd.
Yeah, he was great champion, and he was good that night. Yeah, keep going, brother.
Yeah, no, it was a great match. I'm definitely glad you suggested it. We thought we'd take the easy way out and pick an ECW match, so appreciate you throwing us a little bit of a curveball.
Yeah, and the thing with Fujinami, a lot of our listeners probably don't realize what a groundbreaker he was. I mean, he invented the Dragon Sleeper, which is one of the coolest submission holds ever. He would do the Dragon Screw Leg Whip. He was the first one to do that. He had all this offense that nobody had done before him. And he's a big guy to be doing all that stuff.
Yeah, he is big. He is big. I like him, man. Wrestling in Japan's been a big fucking deal for, way before us.
Oh, yeah.
All those great guys, you know what I mean? And I was lucky enough. Tokyo is one of my favorite cities I've been to in the world. Mm-hmm. It was crazy that I got to go. And a lot of guys spending all their time over it, like Mike Awesome. His whole career was in Japan. He came to Florida, ECW and a little bit WCW, and that was it. But I've heard a lot of great stories. Giant Baba and all them guys. My goodness.
Yeah. I read Freddie Blassie's book back when about 20 years ago, and he talked about working with Ricky Dozan, who was the father of Japanese wrestling. And I haven't seen a lot of his stuff, but from what I heard, he was the guy that trained Baba and Inoki. And then after he died, they both started All Japan and New Japan, and then it just went from there. But what I want to ask you about is the finish on the match, which was you took the bump out of the ring, Flair goes over the top rope, and then just all hell breaks loose afterwards. So what do you remember about that?
What I remember, you described it pretty good. They got it going, bam, bam, bam. They put their time in. The match is great. I did a double knockout with Flair or something. Bam, out I go to the floor. I'm semi-conscious. I'm on my back, kind of leaning up a little bit, and I see Fujinami dump Flair over the top. But, I'm still down. Down comes Hattori. runs from the back. Japanese, they get back in the ring, they do their stuff. Fujinami does a move, pins Flair 1, 2, 3. I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
And then I come up, but I don't go in the ring too much, and I don't really oversell it.
Right.
I'm just saying no. I'm not waving my hands like no. And I think they explained it somehow on the, in the Japanese mic and all that. But so there was a rematch, but that night was pretty exciting. And so what I thought, the fans were confused. I'm saying no, and Notorious saying yes. So the final outcome was Flair got the belt back as over the top, but then they had the rematch in St. Pete, and Hattori was a special referee. The Bayfront Center sold out on Christmas night or whatever it was, and I was
that might have been the first Super Brawl, if I remember right.
I think I think you might be right.
Yeah, but what question I always wondered about when you're refereeing a match with like Japanese talent or Spanish talent, is there a problem with the language barrier when you're trying to communicate?
No, because when I said I used to be in Orlando, Florida every Sunday night, it was Eddie Graham Sports Complex. It was a big arena, and the heels and the baby faces would get dressed in two different dressing rooms across from each other. They were way across from each other, so the only communication was between me and them. Like the first match, they never talk. They would talk in the ring, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And
have this shit so together. So it's still the same concept with the Japanese. A little communication problem. If we all went out and, went to dinner or fucking, but in the wrestling, no.
Okay. Because I know in
the international language,
Yeah. I know in the ECW, Joey Styles always made a point to say that Pee Wee Moore spoke Japanese. That's why he always did like Tajiri's matches or like when Taka would come in.
I thought that was a work or a shoot, but it might be a shoot. I'm not sure if Pee Wee knew Japanese. I'm not sure. There might have been a work.
Right. He might have known like specific phrases to work in there, but
yeah. Oh, Joey Styles was great, wasn't he?
Oh, he was awesome. Yeah. To do as much as he did by himself was incredible.
Right. Yeah, he was proud of doing pay-per-views by himself, you know what I mean?
And he was just a young shit back then. He was in his mid-20s when he started with Paul?
I guess, man, but nobody could have done it better.
All right, we got one last question, then we'll wrap it up with you. Duane had one more question, and I actually thought, man, that's pretty interesting. So, do you have any? And if you do, what is your favorite story regarding Andre the Giant?
Oh, I do got a good story on Andre the Giant. It was 1981 in Miami Beach Convention Center. You remember I told you that Monday, West Palm, Tampa, Tuesday, Miami, Wednesday, Jacksonville, repeat itself. So, and they would send specialty, we would use our own crew pretty much. And, once or twice a year, Andre would come in and make the loop, make Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Or they would send in Abdullah the Butcher or the Fabulous or the business, but it was sometimes my job to pick them up and take them for the week or take them for the 3 days they were here and stuff. But anyway, this is the first time I met Andre, and real cool. And we weren't buddies. I just met him, and we refereed his match, and I was already a main event referee, and he had somebody backed into a turnbuckle. I think it might have been Bobo Brazil or something, because Bobo Brazil was finishing up his career when I was breaking in 1980, and I was cool enough to get me. So he had Bobo backed up into a turnbuckle, and I got behind Andre and said, Andre, hit him on the back up. So he backed up to break the hold, and he stepped on my right foot. And I heard a little crack or something, and it hurt like hell, but the match continued. And so Andre the Giant stepped on my foot in 1981, and it still hurts today.
Oh, man. It's a pain that's going to linger.
I think there's like a hairline crack in that top bone in your foot, and it never healed right or something. So doctors can't do anything. So every once in a while, it swells up like 10% or 20% or something.
Oh,
And I see fucking Andre the Giant stepped on my foot in 1981. How cool was that? You know,
that's crazy. You know, I don't think we can top an Andre story. Fonzie, I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the little bit of mix-up on that.
It happens. We're learning how to do all this.
All cool. You guys were so cool about it too, man. And I got my wife involved.
Yeah.
She does not want. I invite her to go to shows all the time, fly, up north. And she doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
She likes the business because I love it, you know. But she was pretty cool, helpful. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Well, Fonzie,
so much, man.
We definitely have to do this again because we haven't even scratched the surface. I've got so many dusty questions, among other things.
I think if you asked Mark, he could probably help you write that book.
I could. Actually, I might know a guy if you're interested.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
I've got a buddy. Yeah, I got a friend who's done some ghost writing. He actually did some writing with Jake Roberts. So I can shoot him a message and see if he'd be interested.
All right. Let's see what kind of deal we can work.
Yeah, sure
that might
thing.
Be cool to get you guys involved.
Yeah. Well, Fonzie, thanks again, man, and I hope you have a good night. And you're going to be in Pennsylvania at the end of the month making the rounds, so if anybody listening is in that area, keep an eye out. And like I said, we'll do this again hopefully sometime real soon, Fonzie.
Yeah, absolutely. You got my personal number. Give it to your partners in crime there that did.
Oh, I don't think they want that.
No, for real. They might want to book it with me one night.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm looking forward to meeting you guys someday.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
All right, Fonzie. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a million. Fonzie signing out. Tampa Bay, Daddy.
Good night.
All right. That was Fonzie. I hope you guys enjoyed that.
That was so cool.
Yeah, it was fun. It was different.
Yeah.
Our first interview.
I think it's our best interview.
It's absolutely. It's like the finest interview we have ever done.
It definitely beats AJ Orsted.
Yeah, that AJ kid. I want to say that Floyd Fisher posted something up for us, and since we are trying to make sure we reach out to all the wrestling fans, this Saturday in Homer, Illinois, at the Homer Opera House, there's an unaffiliated show. It is the final match for local wrestler Shank Barzini.
Great name.
That is a good name. So anybody listening that wants to go see an unaffiliated, I don't know if it's called pro, semi-pro, amateur, I don't know, but I mean, it's along the same lines.
Hey,
it's probably going to be bloodier than shit, too.
Hey, Floyd, if you got a flyer or something saved, post that to the Jumping the Rail Facebook page.
That'd be great.
I do believe this is the outfit that our friend Sherry is a part of. She
said
she was the marketing
Yes, that
director,
might be.
So
that
this
might
is
be.
the
Well,
same group.
Maybe we have to reach out to Sherry and say, what do you know?
Right.
Who do you know?
Yeah. So, guys, I think this is a good time to wrap things up after, I think it's a phenomenal interview with Bill Alfonso. We had so many good stories. And like I said, I do think we should have him back sooner than later. But, again, I want to thank Dustin Danger for helping sponsor with the Rebels Fair Collective out of Oakwood. If you have musical lesson needs, recording, you want to buy some vinyl or buy some instruments, go to Oakwood, find the Rebels Fair, and go see Dustin. But the next show we got, and
so I'm going to cut you off there before you. Mark's on a Fonzie high.
I'm on a Fonzie high.
Things.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to throw it to Narge here. So.
This was an awesome interview. We are going to get somebody else from the Independents on here in about 2 weeks. That is a gentleman.
Show.
Yeah, on our very next show, live from Game Changer Wrestling, Alex Colon. If anybody watches the Independents, they would know Alex. He's a
deathmatch ace.
He's a deathmatch.
Is he the guy that just fast as lightning in the ring that we saw? Was he one of the fast guys?
He was one of the guys with all the light tubes that you saw.
He was a light tube guy. Okay, cool.
But,
well, guys, I can just tell you that's a bloody mess.
Yeah. Alex' claim to fame is he is GCW's Tournament of Survival champion 3 times, and that is their huge deathmatch tournament. He defeated Atticus Kogar last year to win that. Right after that match, he actually challenged Nick Gage for a champion versus champion match that hasn't happened yet. So that's
maybe soon.
That is a match.
If that happens,
hey, maybe when we talk to Alex, we might be able to get the skinny on some stuff.
Yeah. We find out some stuff about him. I know he worked CZW back in the day. Talk about GCW. I mean, we're all big fans of GCW, so we'll have a lot of questions for him.
Absolutely, and we're going to get into his history, where he'd like to go. Alex sees the death match as, it's an art form. It really is, and he'll defend that. And I'd love to hear it. I think it's, deathmatch wrestling is a hot button issue.
It's a very polarizing topic to some wrestling fans, I love it.
You heard Fonzie say he's seen some guy do some crazy stuff that he wouldn't recommend, and I think Alex might be one of those guys.
He's one of those guys.
Yeah, he was talking about Matthew Justice on that.
Yeah, and Alex and Matthew are there. We saw them team up in Chicago last month.
Justice did a gainer off at the top of the cage.
Yeah. So that'll be a fun interview.
Floyd also recommended or suggested, or maybe was just, on a lark, a JTR road trip to Cleveland for an AIW show with Fonzie.
You know what? If the stars align, I would be in for that.
It could be interesting.
AIW's got a
and it's Cleveland, and we know Cleveland rocks.
Hello, Cleveland.
AIW's got a storied history. John Moxley, Kevin Owens, a lot of those guys went through there. Their owner passed away a couple years back, and it was one of the first times I'd seen it. Well, one of the first times that these guys had publicly came out and they acknowledged this gentleman. So AIW still running, though. Great company. Right there with GCW, a little smaller scale, I would say, but they're bringing in pretty similar talent.
But Floyd, if you've got a date on that show, put it in the put it out there, and then who knows? Maybe we'll see if we can make that happen. But until then, I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to call it a day for Mike Nargelinas, for our producer Marco, for the great Bill Alfonso.
Thank you to our sponsor, Dustin Danger, and
the Rebels Fair Collective in Oakwood, Illinois. And this is Jumping the Rail, Episode 7. We'll see you for Episode 8 in 2 weeks. Later.